Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and we're live from Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. How you doing this morning?
Hello, friends. Hello.
Are you excited? It's a big day. Are you
Yeah.
excited?
Well, I'm excited about a lot.
Or is it me? There we go. That's me.
Hello, friends. What's up, little lady?
You're not excited about how this Dodgers game started?
No, they're they're slowly making.
They're chipping their way back in.
They cut it to 9-6.
It's exciting.
Yomimoto was Yomi bad. He's probably still bummed that his buddy and his interpreter can't get their story straight. So
yeah, I was gonna say, is his interpreter the same guy? Because then he might
he's fired too. Huh?
He might be a little distracted.
Yeah, I think it's a bunch of baloney, but
it seems
it's a bunch of baloney.
It seems like they don't have their story.
Who said that? Vince Lombardi? Who's the coach that said it was the baloney line?
I think it's Lombardi. I'm
having
like
a bunch of baloney.
I'm having a flashback of a black and white with the hat on and the whole thing.
Voice.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, they can't get their story straight.
Yeah, because
I do know one thing.
What's that?
I do know you're not going to send wires of that kind of money without a little follow-up.
Yeah.
It's not like Venmoing a couple hundo.
It seems like maybe our guy Shohei here is a little more involved than people would like.
Well, at least he knows. I don't know if he's gambling. I just know that he had to have given permission to.
But he's aware of the situation.
Yeah.
And now
maybe it made the Dodgers mad.
Now they're trying to scapegoat the interpreter.
I mean, maybe what if the Dodgers just? I don't necessarily. You know me, like I'm slow to like jump to things.
Me too. I'm very rational. I never get emotional.
I could tell. And there's a lot. Listen, a lot of these guys around here and gals, it's crazy what we just take and run with without like processing it through because it's low hanging fruit. But I mean, no disrespect to low hanging fruit pickers. Everybody needs fruit, but
I mean, listen, some people aren't very tall. They got to eat.
But maybe the Dodgers were just mad in general, so they fired him. Maybe it wasn't theft. It doesn't mean that Ohtani was the one
gambling.
Yeah.
No, but I think he was involved in.
I think that's pretty. I think that's
based on what the story initially was, based on the amounts of money.
Yeah.
I mean, unless
and why is your boy singing?
Unless he's the most oblivious man on the planet.
Yeah.
Then I have a hard time believing that he wasn't involved in some way.
It's a lot of scratch, a lot of Skrilla. Him and
it was like $4.5 million.
Yeah, makes Bruno Mars look like a cheapskate.
That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah,
I would notice if $4.5 million was gone.
So I'm excited about the Dodgers potentially coming back. I'm excited that your boy went 35-14 last night.
Wait, who's my boy?
Ravi Holmgren.
Oh, Chet?
Yeah, Chet Lulla.
Love Chet.
Yeah.
Chet's my guy.
Well, how did you not know that Chet went 35-14?
Well, I didn't. You just didn't say any names. I'm just going like, okay.
Still really vibing with that hoodie.
I like this hoodie a lot.
I know, and I think I said that the last time.
I'm a fan of this hoodie. You know, Creighton's playing a basketball game today. I don't know if you know.
I like the material. Are they playing?
They're playing at 12:30?
Hey, so how many ridiculous stats did you bog yourself down with when you're picking a bracket? We haven't even gone through our brackets.
No, we're gonna do that this morning.
888-638-4876. If you have any questions on why we pick the way we do and what we think, I mean, hit us up.
Or if you got some little sleepers you want to give us little tips on.
Yeah.
I
don't want the whole bearded coach, non-bearded coach, guy wearing blue. Don't give me that nonsense.
So I didn't. I don't look at stats when I'm picking my bracket.
I think you should.
I don't.
Well, it's okay if you don't. It's okay. You're fine.
Every time I've tried to do research on one of these things, I get bogged down in it and I end up doing terrible.
You're all in the minutia.
Yeah, and so I just go gut on a bracket.
Shane, can you tell that I'm kind of messing with Ravi? It's called placating.
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Shane,
I don't even recognize.
I don't either. But I do know that there are 24 hits right now in Seoul.
That's a lot of hits.
Yeah, especially only being
like K-pop, all those hits.
It's my little girl, Shane, when she laughs, she's like, yep. It's a lot of hits.
We've got a lot going on for you here.
Kayla Williams threw yesterday. I'm excited about that.
We've got a lot going on this morning. We'll have Matt DeMarinis up at 8 o'clock to preview those Creighton Blue Jays.
Mhm.
We'll have Brian Edwards at 8:45. If you haven't made any bracket picks yet, maybe see what our guy B. Edwards is thinking for you.
I'm gonna use any cream cheese to butter the bagel.
I'm fan of the Budweiser bottles.
Yeah.
We've got Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. A lot going on for Nebraska yesterday.
Yeah.
So are they using the cream cheese
Bruntz
to
got
butter
to-
the bagel?
Yes, they are. Bruntz got to drive yesterday, so I'm interested in. And what's Bruntzy's go-to snack? My man doesn't eat meat, so we know like jerky and stuff is out.
Yeah, I wonder if he's
He is the guy that went to the Big Biscuit and got
you got the vegetarian deal.
got mushrooms and gravy.
He
No.
Shout out to mushrooms.
he might be he might be like a snack mix guy, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Those are vegetarian.
So I should not have talked about it because I have not had them.
And now you're craving.
Yep. They're sitting in there. There's a lot of things that are going to go to waste, but I'm not going to get into that because I'm just not.
Coming up at 9:45, we'll wrap up the show with Chris Fetters from Dogman 24/7. He covers Washington. Why are we talking to Washington? Oh, well, we might have stole their athletic directors a little bit.
Grand larceny or petty theft? Less than 500?
He was only there for 6 months, so I'm going to call it petty theft.
Yeah.
It was tough.
And he's not from Washington originally, so we'll call it petty
Yeah.
theft.
He's a Coach Matt guy.
He's a Coach Matt guy. He's a Midwest guy.
From the Midwest?
He apparently reffed Fred Hoiberg in high school, which is a little funny. Hoiberg's comment was, "I hope he's a better AD than he is a ref," that's amusing. I thought it was good. But aside from obviously hiring an AD, naming a priority candidate for the president position, also got an Amy Williams official announcement on the extension there. She'll be making, I think after this year, she'll be a 7-figure coach.
It's pretty nice.
Which is terrific.
Shane, life is good. Got my red bottoms on. Know what I mean? That is future.
Oh. What about past and present?
Life is good.
To this day.
That's a different guy. So Amy Williams gets extended.
He gets all those black people mixed up.
Who, Shane or me?
Yeah, put him in a silo, Shane. Kind of sort of.
I am bad and they know I'm bad.
Oh, that's my guy. That is Dusty Rhodes. That's the cold-blooded sausage maker.
I'm going to tell you right now, live on television, Jack, that I'm going to hurt one of you real bad in the real near future.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
Shane threatening us.
No.
I admit I don't look like the athlete of the day supposed to look. My belly's just a little big. My hand is just a little big. But, brother, I am bad and they know I'm bad. I am bad and they know I'm bad.
Shane, why are you so defensive this morning already?
See you. Have a good day. Love you.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
Shane's in his own world.
Apparently, I get that. No, we've got our own little world to get into as well. I want to start
with saying happy morning of March Madness. Until you say that, I'm going to continue to cut you off. Just say, hey, happy morning of March Madness.
Happy morning of March Madness, DV.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell your loyal listeners? Do you wish them
freaking bats?
No. Do you wish them well on their brackets?
Do
you want to hear about brackets?
They can do great. That's fine.
Are you a give me an updates guy? Because those people drive me crazy.
On their brackets?
Hey, I got 11 out of 16, man. I'm right there.
But you're winning.
Then the next day it'll be like, oh man,
I got 12 out of 32.
It's like it's like weight loss person. Let me comment. Let me say something.
Don't I look great? Have you noticed how much weight I've lost?
Yeah.
I care about you.
I've been hitting the gym a lot. I don't know if
Let
you
me
noticed.
ask you about your bracket.
Do you want to know how much I bench?
Don't volunteer that to me.
Have I told you about my fantasy team?
I had it. Listen, I had Stetson.
Man,
Telling you, I told you.
through like 7 minutes, Stetson was right there.
That thing wet.
I was feeling good.
Yeah.
And then, the last 33 kind of got me. But that first 7,
Hey, whose voice is that?
I don't know.
It's pretty good.
That's just kind of my dumb guy voice, I think.
Whoa.
What?
Ravi here for not smart people.
Well, you kind of drop a little bit and go a little slower. And I'd be like, this is the dumbest thing in the world.
Wait.
I don't even know what I was talking about there.
Was that live?
Probably.
That sounds like something you'd say about every 4 minutes.
And I'd be like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. I don't say it that often. Usually I find more creative ways to call people stupid.
Yeah, very critical. Very critical of folks' aptitude.
Well, listen, can't fix stupid. I don't know what to tell you.
Anything else before you get going on?
No, I was going to get into the president, or, future president-elect, priority candidate gold.
Wait, what?
Isn't that what we call him, president-elect?
Lord have mercy.
Or is that a different thing?
I think that's a different thing.
Oh, a different president?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I get a little confused here.
RFK Jr. type stuff.
I don't think
Stop.
he'll be wearing that title.
Stop.
Just a guess. Just looking at polling numbers, I don't think it'll be
Just throwing you a slider.
his title. I'm just guessing. Just doesn't seem like it's going to work out for him.
San Diego Dodgers continue to play softball.
Hey, I didn't. Will,
And I stayed under 3.5 yesterday.
I got the Fresh Prince up to bat right now.
Shout out to me.
Under 3, and you did get to stay under 3.5. I'm
Yep.
proud of you.
Yep.
Now,
So-
part of that's because the game ended like
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what it was.
what?
Well, I still had 2.5 innings to go.
Yeah,
I'll tell you exactly what it was.
you did 2 in the first like 30 seconds though.
Yeah, one was a little chintzy.
All right, 1.5. Call it 1.5.
Like, so this is what I'm competitive weird, right?
Yeah.
TK goes, like, I think it was in our comments or on Twitter. He goes, turn the game off, DB.
Oh
No, I gave it tone. That's maybe not how he meant it. He is a little on the snark
He
side.
can be.
So once he said that, the adrenaline kicked in. I'm like, I can do it with the game still on. Watch. I'm not changing the channel, and I'm not going to say a word.
So you're competitive when no one else even knows what's happening.
100%.
Yeah, that's how you know you're a little. That's how you know you're a little different.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Like the back door could be open.
Mhm.
This is real. This was just yesterday.
Yeah.
I want to leave it open for the dogs. Right? Buddha can open the screen door.
Mhm.
So the screen door he must have been inside for a little bit, and it's fine because there are no bugs yet. So I'm
You're
super
cool.
cool with the door
Yeah.
open. But it was cold. Wood floors and
Mhm.
it was cold, and I'm like, I'm not closing the door. Like, I'm gonna deal with this weather because I'm the one that
So you're competitive.
I'm the one that left the door open. So I'm gonna see how long I can.
You're
not
competitive with your own previous decisions.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
That's a little bit out
But
there.
that's the honest to goodness truth. I just did that yesterday.
That's super funny.
Is that weird?
A little.
But that's how TK got me. He got me without even knowing.
I see, I see people being competitive with other people that don't like. My wife will do this if they get on like the Stairmaster or whatever. If somebody gets on after her, she will not get off that Stairmaster until the other person leaves.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff though.
Yeah, but like at least there's another person involved, even if they don't know it.
It's productive. It's not the game within the game.
Yeah, it's not like I'm being competitive with myself on a decision I already made that there is really no reward for me here.
Yeah.
That's where it's like I don't
I'm weird.
I don't know what's happening here. I don't even recognize what we're doing.
Elevator goes to the 8th floor.
Hey, it's better than the basement floor.
I got
you know?
10. I got 10.
Hey, that's 80%. It's like a solid C.
And that's totally on me.
Ravi here for me being average.
You know what they say? C's get degrees.
We simply can't do that.
What's up, Trev?
I don't even know who that is. He's dead
Everybody.
to me. Dead to me. Who's not dead to me? Dr. Jeffrey Gold.
Yeah, it's good. We got some things moving.
We got some things to discuss here too, because it was the chatter yesterday.
Dr. Lawrence Chatters. He's a great person. He's at the university.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah.
No, chatter isn't people talking.
Oh,
like chit chatter.
Oh.
Chit chat.
yes.
Was that, and for myself included.
Big Dr. Chatters guy though.
That's good.
Google him.
I will probably during the break though, because we're doing something right now. If that's okay.
I feel like I just low key got chastised.
If that's we got a lot to get to, DB. We got a lot to do.
It's just driving you crazy.
No, it's okay. No, there was a lot of chatter going around yesterday that he was the candidate that Trev actually wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if that's true. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. If that's true, basically a couple of different things may have happened here.
Did you know Dannen is also a yogurt?
I did, yeah. The yogurt will not be RAD though.
Okay.
As far as I could tell,
Spelled differently.
it is. There's an E instead of an O.
It's like coffee, man.
I don't. Where did coffee come from?
Spelled like the drink.
Spelled like the drink.
Green Mile.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna get you off
John-
your game,
John Coffee, man.
because I
Spelled like the drink.
I just don't. I don't want you to get to your point.
That's fine. Let's talk about coffee. Let's talk about Green Mile. You know, a lot of people think it's an allegory for Jesus. John Coffey is the Christ character in that. Did you know that? Unrightfully persecuted.
You're not playing the
No.
game correctly. You're
Exec-
supposed to ball your fists up and be mad. You're not supposed to go along and then ruin my own stint.
Well, I mean, hey, you're not the only competitive one
No,
around
but
here.
I tell you what,
You want to throw this thing off the rails? Let's go off the rails.
Dr. Gold, though, I have some thoughts.
Nah, I'm okay. We don't have to. Let's talk about Dannen yogurt instead.
Nobody can do that.
I'm actually not a big yogurt guy. It's a consistency issue for me. I tried to
But
buy
it's in all your dishes.
Well, not my dishes. You can't just throw that at me like every
Oh.
Indian dish is my dish. I know what you're doing there. Try to slide that past me like I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I am aware that yogurt is a staple food in much of the Indian diet.
my bad.
You know me. I don't eat a lot of Indian food.
Oh man,
My flavor palette came from the white side of the family.
is this thing on?
I have probably not much longer, if I had to guess. Sasha, this is what happens when we don't get a lineup tweet. It's totally out. It's chaos.
So
What's
you know I'm mad about that, right?
Yeah, I know. I sent a text. I was like, "Hey, can we get a lineup tweet?"
Like
It's fine.
I mean, everybody's got a job to do.
It's fine. You know,
All right,
I got a job to do too, and you're not real interested in letting me do that
because
so
where's the lineup?
I gave the lineup out loud orally. It's an audio program, so mostly there's some visuals if you're on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube.
I can't stand you. How are you going to take my shtick and use it against me?
Because I'm competitive too, DB.
Would you like to talk about Dr. Gold?
No, I'm okay. I do want to let's talk about Chris Holtman and DePaul. I've been trying to get to that for a week.
So is that really a good job?
I don't.
People are trying to convince me of that now that a good coach got it. Well, why does that make you laugh? Because all of a sudden I got serious.
No, because you like word for word read off of my sheet.
Oh, you know I can't read.
That's basically exactly like it was basically, you know how I do the thing like, are we sure?
Oh, boy.
My note is basically like Chris Holtman to DePaul. Are we sure that's a good job?
Yeah, it's not.
Just because it's
flickering.
in Chicago doesn't mean it's a good job.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about Dr. Gold? Because I do think that was the guy that Trev wanted.
I'm okay. I got some other stuff to get to.
He's doing some good
But
things.
wait a second, though.
You want to do our brackets now?
I have a question.
Are you going to take North Carolina to win it all? Are you going to
No.
do that? Are you that guy?
Mm-mm.
You like hedging your feelings?
No, I would never. I'm not built like that.
You're not hedging your feelings, or you're
No,
not?
I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not a feelings.
You just don't think they're going to win it.
No, I'm not a feelings hedger though.
You going Creighton all the way? Big Coach Matt guy.
Big Coach Matt guy, but no Creighton all the way.
I took Creighton all the way. Spoiler alert, because I'm a homer. I'm okay with that.
Wouldn't you rather be right?
Not if I'm just doing a I'm not like in a like
So
I
you're
just
not-
do a I'm not like in a pool with anybody. I'm just in a bracket to do a
I
bracket.
used to always do those, and then
I did them some.
when I found that how difficult it was to just get a normal printable bracket,
Yeah, and it's gotten bad now.
I think I maybe silently revolted.
I used to
Can like Nat Turner do a thing by himself?
No.
I didn't think so. He probably needs
Nat King Cole,
different Nat.
different Nat.
Yeah.
I used to just cut it out of the
Like,
newspaper.
what if he didn't have anybody to lead? It'd be kind of
Well, a leader without any followers is just a guy taking a walk.
like the
leader.
like the Hobbit.
No, he had some friends. They're friends. Actually, in The Hobbit, he is by himself. You're right. I was thinking Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, he's got some friends. The Hobbit, he is just
He's over here losing his
Just-
mind.
walking by himself until the dragon shows up. It's like, whoa.
Think anybody tweeted the lineup out yet?
I was like, whoa. I said it out loud. That's all I could
I
do.
don't know what to talk. I have no guideline with no.
No, yes, you do, because I send you a Word
Every night you
document
do.
every night.
Although sometimes it creeps into the morning.
Yeah, well, so there was a couple times where I did the whole thing, but if I closed the email window too fast, it doesn't actually get sent out. It just goes into the drafts.
So I thought so you don't want to talk athletic directors and presidents?
I mean, we can at some point. It's a long show. We only got like 3 minutes left now, so kind of wasted this segment.
It's Thursday. Everybody feels good. People have all these made up reasons
Everybody.
for not going to work and taking long lunches. We just entertain people during their traffic stops.
I feel great. I'm having a great day. Creighton plays at 12:30.
Are you going to eat?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Why would I not eat?
Well, I just wondered if you like ate during the game and stuff.
I'll probably get some food during the game. I'll probably watch at home though. I don't know that I want to. It gets a little crazy out and about, and for a March Madness game, I don't really want to do that.
Now, we've seen some March Madness day starts on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, and those are wild.
But we're just coming off of St. Patrick's Day. Do you think people are like ready to ramp it up again?
Certain age groups of people are.
Did the weekend get away from you? Did you see a lot of St. Patrick's Day people?
Saturday, I saw a lot.
I didn't pay a ton of attention.
I wasn't paying attention, but there were people out.
But today will be
Today will be aggressive.
a lot of lunch specials around town too.
We love a lunch special. I'll probably eat at home just because I might. Yeah,
Hey, we have a lineup out.
there we go. I like watching the games at home because I've got my setup, and then I'm kind of like camped out in my office having a good time. And
Are you like Go Sparty or like what are we doing?
what do you mean?
Who's the real MSU? Well, they're the opening game, aren't they?
I don't. I don't.
Yes.
I'm mad.
Yes.
I'm mad at Tom Izzo, by the way.
Why this time?
So, speaking of TK, who like getting people riled up a little bit, he sends me a message yesterday about one Thomas Izzo, the fourth. I don't know if I just made that part up. Basically, the headline is
the only fourth that Nebraskans need to be worrying about is the guy they're trying to keep out of the paint that plays for that maroon school.
Yeah, you gotta watch
He's
out.
the fourth.
You gotta watch out for him.
Or a V with the I in front of it.
Yeah, it's an IV. That's a Roman numeral, DB.
Wow.
The I actually stands for 1. The V's a 5. But if it comes before the V, you subtract it.
Shane,
If it comes after the V, you add it.
I'm gonna let
Like
you.
after add.
I'm gonna nip this in the bud right now.
Yeah.
I just want you to know
Yeah.
that I already know how my own medicine tastes. I like I have kids. I'm well aware of how my medicine tastes.
Tom Izzo says mid-major shouldn't get automatic bids into the tournament. And Tom Izzo can kick rocks.
Tom Izzo listens to the show, right?
I hope he does.
He got it.
His guy, Mr. Tiemann, said, man, there's this guy in Omaha who likes yogurt.
Doesn't like yogurt. That's racist. Just assume all Indian people like yogurt.
No, I like yogurt and I'm black.
Oh, all Indian people like yogurt. I don't like yogurt. I don't think it's that good. I bought some because it's got really good macros. Like when I was powerlifting, couldn't get it down. I don't know what we're doing here. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Or if you want to come down and watch some March Madness today, you certainly can. Lots of TVs all over the place.
I would eat.
It's where I camped out last year on day one.
It's all about the food, man.
You, me, A-Raj were here
Dupree.
last year.
Is this a pet friendly? No, I'm not even gonna get started. I'm just telling you though, without guidelines and parameters, that's the kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah. It's a bleep show. I don't know what to tell you. That's
It's Thursday, man. People want to have fun. Let's have fun.
I want to have fun every day. DB.
Well, you've been so mad for like 10 days.
It's only been 8. It started
no.
Wednesday. It started Wednesday.
No,
Today's Thursday.
it really started on last Monday.
Why? Why did it start?
Because
Monday?
you were mad at the tournament thing.
What tournament thing?
Like what was going on, precursors, who could get in, who could not. You had already worked yourself
I was
up
mad about Indiana State
into a little bit of a frenzy.
Well, the committee failed me.
We didn't know that last week. You were like,
See, you know when I have that conversation with you where I'm like, there's a reason I kind of don't put a lot of faith in these selection committees and voters and things like that.
Yeah.
Because too many times they've told me they're stupid and now I believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believed them and they're like, yep, we're still stupid.
yeah, I got you.
That's what they did.
Hey, for the record, I
Yeah.
could have been talking about Greeks too. They like yogurt.
They make yogurt. That's different. It's a different thing.
So is the rule of last segment don't use a demonstrative to describe a group of people?
I don't think it was a demonstrative. What's it like a they?
Yeah.
Or you guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that safe?
yeah, you probably shouldn't in general.
Okay. I'm learning this.
You could be like, hey, Ravi, I know that you have some Indian heritage. Is it true that there's a lot of yogurt in your guys' dishes? It's a little ironic that you don't particularly care for that staple of your people's diet.
Oh man. Okay.
People love the long shots.
Yes, they do.
It's okay. It's all right.
So how about
We're just doing some cultural education here.
That's fine, right?
fine.
I
It's
kind of
all right.
like it's gonna be all right.
We got.
Can we have a satellite campus for UNMC in Lincoln?
Apparently, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know though. I suggested it. I don't know if it's feasible.
How so?
Would that count as bridging? Is that as we like quickly transition to like AAU status?
I have no idea. I really don't.
But as you see, he didn't mince words. Shane, did you take that little blurb, that fantastic little piece that the Omaha World Herald got? That was online with Dr. Gold and what he wants.
Right off the top of his interview there. Right at the first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
I'm sorry. I just woke up. It's almost like why I sent it to you yesterday. Do you remember that?
I just thought it was for educational purposes. I learned a lot.
No, but I got to take Sasha. I accidentally hit the 3-wheel motion and put Sasha on there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want her on there all the time. Sometimes it's just for you and Shane.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I went to conversations and it popped up first, and I was kind of in a hurry because I was in the middle of listening to another interview.
Yeah. There were some good interviews that
I was on the Brock Heward in the car thing. Would you ever be a TikTok guy or a quick hitter YouTuber in the car?
What do you mean?
Where like you just do like a quick blurb from your car seat?
A
lot of people do that.
I've done real quick ones, like if I'm sitting in a parking lot.
Yeah.
But not a lot. Mostly I was just doing it when I used to do it when I would be at the gym. I was waiting for my phone to charge. So I had music the whole time. So every once in a while I would do something like that. But that's about it.
Yeah. Brock Heward, I thought was echoed Coach Rule's sentiments about fit.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting. And Coach Rule knew an awful lot in a short amount of time to be quote unquote.
Feels like it got ran by him.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
Right.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well aware of accomplishments, especially the whole Tulane Temple thing with their ADs.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. Talked about it being accomplished, talked about being on the new committees.
Part of you almost wonders if maybe it's a name he suggested.
And the other thing is, I don't know.
With the affinity he mentioned for Pat Kraft.
Isn't that weird?
And then the working relationship that Dannen and Pat Kraft had. Obviously, Rule was familiar with him.
Been on all the big committees.
This is a name that was totally kind of out of the blue, it felt like.
And appears to really want to push the academic narrative too. He's a football guy through and through. Like, did you listen to that 1 hour one I sent?
Yeah, he goes, hey, I've kind of basically just been a football AD because when he took over for Washington was mid-season.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of their run. He's like, yeah, I've basically just been a football AD.
You can tell he loves the sport.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that kind of vibes. Good business guy. Appears to be interested in fundraising. I think he tried, we could ask Fetters at 9:45 or 9:43. It appears he's kind of a feather ruffler too.
Hey, how so?
Like he's not a Stan Pat guy. Kind of
keep moving forward.
He's visionary.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm
careful. We used to describe another guy like that. Careful here.
Well, I still like that guy.
You might be the last one.
That is so shallow.
What?
Because a guy had a bad episode on Twitter, we can't like him anymore?
Episode is like a one-off.
No.
He's been having a bad run.
Well, let's call an episode a week.
A lot of the great ones don't have.
That's not far-fetched. Have you not watched like a six-part series?
He's having a
and you get one episode a week?
He's having a
It's not a stretch.
He's having a bad go. He needs to get this thing back on the rails.
I still think it's not him.
I hope it's not him.
But do you find that a coinkydink, a coincidence, if you will, a phenomenon that we're talking about AAU status, positioning, being on committees? This is all about what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
If you're not like progressive, I think that's what they're definitely afraid of. So you have to be a mover and a shaker.
Well, yeah, you can't. this is not a time for somebody who wants to keep status quo in college football, especially college athletics in general, but college football especially, because the status quo dies pretty much every 30 days. Whatever we thought it was 30 days ago, whether it's NIL, whether it's transfer portal, whether it's court injunctions, whether it's conference realignment, whether it's college football playoff, whatever we thought was the status quo of college sports, which didn't change for like 30 years, changes about every month now.
I'm going to chew on this ice so bad. Do you think the layperson understands the significance?
Let's wait for a break for that.
Okay. Thank you. Do you like how sometimes he just low-key parents, and I'm clearly the older one of the two?
No big deal.
Like 94% of the time, I'm like the only one with any sense on this show when he's having meltdowns.
I really got to be careful.
But these moments where I periodically just need a babysitter. She like to hold my hand. I don't need a gate.
I was like, you have almost fallen down the stairs multiple times.
Well, why do people put the stairs back under the stage?
Yeah, they're not super helpful there.
Like, what else are they there for?
We needed to do something.
That's 3 feet.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a long
you
step.
hurt yourself.
Yes, 100%.
Don't do that.
But do you think that your sphere of influence is the AAU status and the position of the university? Do they think it's overblown, or understated right now? Are they sick of hearing about those 3 letters? Do they think it's basketball?
I don't think so. I don't know that they put a ton of stock in the conversation just because.
Dude, did you get into the Oregon numbers?
No.
Bad. I don't know how Oregon's maintaining their status.
Yeah. Well, I've always wondered about Oregon for a little while because I don't get the perception, and I've looked into it some, but I don't.
Yeah, weren't you one of the guys? You may have texted me. Notice I didn't say texted it, Shane, because I know vernacular and phonics are hard.
Don't put that crap on me.
The past tense form of texting. If you're texting, you just text. I texted it you. I think you text me when I went out on the limb. Pardon?
It's texted it.
Let's turn that mic off, Dano.
Remember when I was animate about Oregon and Washington coming to the Big Ten?
About being good fits.
And when I didn't think the Big Ten was done.
Yeah.
And then it died away for a while, and like my
obviously.
DMs were kind of full, and like, you need a dummy, and what happened to this and that,
Yeah.
and like, I'm telling you, man, like, it's coming. Now it was a year and a half later.
Still counts.
Do you not get the pieces of the pie portfolio thing, or are you all in on where the expansion went with the Big Ten's profile? It's probably easier to see now.
Yeah.
That you see where conferences are going. Did you then, though, real time?
Because
I wanted the pod system the whole time.
So I've thought in real time. I mean, I don't know if this is what you mean or not. We can get into the next segment here, but I thought the whole time that we were heading towards basically 1 or 2 super conferences.
Remember, I thought the number was 4 or 5. It's just 2.
Well, I mean, I thought maybe it was 3 or 4 at the time, but I knew it was going to be like, hey, we're probably getting down to like 48 teams, maybe 60, and that's about it. However that's divided up, I don't know, but it was pretty clear to me at the time that like, hey, you better get in where you fit in now so that you're not on the outside looking in.
It's interesting to hear a president talk about academics.
I think that's what FSU and Clemson are worried about right now.
They'll be in the Big Ten, don't worry.
We've got more coming up next. Welcome back as we wrap up hour number 1 here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and live from the Pillar Exterior stage. That's TV. I'm Ravi Lulla. The voice you just heard was Brock Hurrdat, former Washington QB.
He's polarizing with Nebraska fans. We didn't always love him on broadcast. I kind of like Brock.
I don't mind him.
He's very matter of fact, right? So you can't be kind of wishy-washy and a little Belgian waffle and probably like Hurrdat, because he's very confident.
He's very confident. He's very decisive in the things he says.
Yeah, sounds a lot like a guy sitting next to every day.
I don't know what that means at all.
It's fine. It's nothing wrong with.
You'd never wonder where I stand.
Yeah, and you know what? That's how I function best.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some drawbacks to the way I go about business.
No. What do you mean? You mean like
sometimes
like just stealing $20 wagers because you're mad?
Sometimes I let the emotions get the best of me.
I'm going to try not to take advantage of you though.
But
although I would like to eat for free again some other time next week.
Well, you still got cashing on the other one, and then we'll talk about a new one.
You could just order it for me. Like, I'll eat it today if you want.
You sure? Do you want to hang out? We'll get you some food from the bar. Good to
Well,
go.
let the kids eat when they get home from track practice. Dad, where'd we get the 4 sides of gyro and pita? I know you're not going to eat the pita. Yeah, just eat it. It was free.
You know I'm not paying for kids to eat. All right. They got their own deals. Not interested.
So those are your guys when you're not betting against one of them.
No, I do like Caleb and Micah for sure.
Don't kids eat a lot of yogurt?
Depends on whose kids they are, apparently.
I'm just saying.
My wife likes Zoe a lot. She thinks Zoe's a cool hang.
Yeah, so she's an adult. That's why. I
Yeah.
mean, there's 2 adults talking.
It's because she doesn't act like a child. Well, she's like 5, so if she did, that'd be fine. But
Wow.
honestly, once you're like 12, though, like I need you to stop acting childish.
Are you listening to the passive aggressiveness of one Ravi Lulla?
Let's get to the phone line.
L2, I'm going to need you to grow up. You seem very hurt right now.
888-638-4876. That's where TK has gotten a hold of us. TK, what's going on, bud?
Good morning, fellas. How we doing?
We are functioning, not at a very high level, but we're good.
No, we're puttering along, I would say.
A lot of jokes. This stage is for comedy, apparently.
Yeah. It's TK here for mayonnaise.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Ooh.
For cringy cringe.
Ew, no, thank you.
I get the dry heaves.
So what at the end of the last segment, you guys were talking about, the consolidation of super leagues, and it made me think back to a conversation I had with one of my classmates who's big into all the NIL and legal implications and all the cases. He follows them religiously.
Mhm.
And we talked about one day what it's going to look like eventually when the student athletes are being paid by the colleges directly, and how they're going to interact with the colleges on a larger scale through like a union.
You talking about from athletics to academics, or just independent athletics?
So independent athletics.
Okay.
So basically, let's set it up to where there's 2 leagues. There's the Big Ten that has half the teams, and the SEC that has the other half the teams. And the name, image, and likeness dollars come straight through the university from private people, private entities to distribute to the players.
Mm-hmm.
Or it just comes from their money. When eventually they're going to have a union to negotiate some of these deals.
Yep.
I wonder if Congress doesn't do anything about it, what a court will say about if the SEC and the Big Ten tried to work together, because that in my brain,
it's collusion.
Sounds like a monopoly.
Yeah,
sounds like a monopoly.
Unless there's 2 things there, TK, and you're the soon-to-be lawyer, not me. But unless
maybe we need to have your buddy on the show too, because if he likes unions and labor laws, that's the guy we need. No disrespect.
Most of I think all of
Ravi hasn't committed any crimes yet, even though he may kill me.
Yeah.
All the professional
I only
leagues,
have a very basic knowledge.
Yeah, so all the professional leagues in the U.S. have basically a antitrust exemption, right? They have a monopoly exemption to allow them to operate the way they do. So I don't know if that's something that the Big Ten and SEC would almost have to formally and legally put themselves together and then apply for something like that, or if they're just legally one entity, then they're not technically colluding because they're all one organization. That's where things get a little bit tricky from the legal standpoint, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, so that would take congressional action to
get the exemption,
to
right?
give them that. Yeah, to give that exemption.
For sure.
And if the NCAA falls, then the Big Ten and the SEC are separate, like legal entities.
Right. So what I'm saying is they'd have to formalize a legal agreement to become the same entity.
I'm just wondering if a court would try and break them up.
So
for anti-competitiveness.
It depends on how much money there is to be made, right? Is that too sarcastic, too
myopic?
No,
because I think that's the thing, right?
The biggest
if you want Congress to get involved, it's got to be monetary.
Correct. Because they need to be able to make tax dollars off of it.
So, TK, let me ask you something real quick. What are your buddy's thoughts on? I think he said him, so I'll go with that pronoun. What are his thoughts on whether you can bring NIL in-house once these leagues are formed? That would take a government. That would take a government third. That would take a third party, right?
Right. So absent any congressional action, it would take the individual state governments to do that. So like what the state of Nebraska is trying to do.
Okay.
With that bill, I forget what bill it's called, but like it would take the individual governments who technically run those universities.
Okay. Appreciate that, TK. Food for thought. Now we got to get serious because my brain is spinning now because I know ultimately one of the things that was a sticking point for
Appreciate the call, TK, by the way.
yeah for Trev was I think ultimately he wanted to move NIL in-house, right?
I think eventually that's where it's going.
Do you?
I do. I think
It's going to have to be regulated.
it will, and that's why it may not happen quickly.
Okay,
But I
so
think
in
long term, that's where it's going.
that's fine. But in the meantime, can we continue to support things like 1890? Because I think that's
Well, you have
important.
to.
I think that's important. Do
You
you
have
think
to.
we understand that?
I don't know,
Do
but
you want me to get on a mountaintop and
I would say we can
yell
say
that?
it right now.
You need to support initiatives like 1890.
Yes, because otherwise, between now, because I don't know when, we could be several years away before
I don't think so.
what?
That's several years. What's going to happen is
From bringing it in house, you mean?
yeah.
Okay.
See, because what's going to happen
Yeah.
is Caden Proctor won't be the first or last.
Right.
So
But if we're talking about
it's not going to take as long as you think.
congressional action, it's going to take longer. If you're talking about state legislative action, it could get done quicker, right? So that's what TK said the two options are, and we saw this with NIL, where all the different state legislatures.
Right now, you
passed
don't
NIL
think
deals.
Iowa State. You don't think like.
No, I bet they're doing it right now.
Oh, I know. She's probably pissed,
For sure.
right?
But
And I'm pretty sure Kirk can have her on speed dial.
my point is, I think anytime you're dealing with a political body, it's going to take longer than if it's just a institutional decision.
I understand.
Right? So maybe several years is an exaggeration.
Are you a laissez-faire guy? Do you want more or less government?
No, in terms of that's a loaded question. In terms of the college football, college athletics narrative, I think there needs to be some sort of common set of rules that everybody's playing by.
Okay.
Which I think is a pretty bare minimum ask, right? Because right now you've talked about it with number of conference games and stuff before, but in terms of the NIL, in terms of the transfer portal doesn't really bother me because I think that's going to even itself out, and it already has. But when you're talking NIL money, there's only so many times, whether it is by government decree or whether it's by individual business owners being like, hey, I'm not going to pay $100,000 unless I get you on a contract.
Well, that was what I said yesterday, right? I said it in passing, and I wasn't being snarky.
You're talking about 1 or 2 year deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see where
but Bob,
athletes get 1 or 2. They get contract. They get 1 or 2 year deals.
What I'm talking about is I don't even know. I think in the short term, that may come from the people giving them the money, not from the university.
Understood.
Right? Like,
yeah, because the parameters, once you've got to operate from a legal standpoint, you can't put that into effect that fast.
Not from a university
Not
standpoint.
from the parameters, right?
But from hey, I'm a business owner. I'm hiring you for a service, and you are held to this contract. Otherwise, you owe me damages back. That can be done tomorrow because that's just a regular contractor agreement.
Okay, so listening to this, and this is interesting, especially on the heels of talking about AAU as a prerequisite with Dr. Gold, and I just felt like that was interesting that he got that out of the way so early.
Right in front.
Yep, 4 criteria, this, that, and the other. Told you it was important. We keep talking about this in terms of football. Can you imagine the strife if you alienate other sports, right? Well, basketball will operate like this. Football will operate like this. Because once you start to do that, then animosity really sets in.
So here's the thing that I think we have to all
because we keep leaving the Big 12 out.
Yeah.
And they're in a very good position from a basketball standpoint. And the rest and the other 2 conferences would need them at some point.
yes, if they want things to keep looking the way they look from a non-football standpoint, yes, you're correct. We can get into that and much more later, but coming up next, we've got Matt DeMarinis from the White and Blue Review. Creighton plays their first NCAA tournament game today. We've got that on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and we are live from the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Joining us now on our hotline is Matt DeMarinis from the White and Blue Review. Matty, how are you this morning?
Morning, Ravi. Morning, DB. How's it going?
What's up, Matty? I hear you. I hear you have Auburn making a ridiculous run. Fact or fiction?
I've made no predictions.
Oh, okay.
So
You don't make any predictions. You're not going to fill out a bracket at all. You're too much of a journo for that.
no, well, I actually haven't had time to fill out a bracket. I would fill one out. I just haven't had to look at it yet.
Weren't you on a plane yesterday? What were you doing?
Minding his own business, apparently, Ravi.
I was gonna say thanks, DB. Yeah, little bitey,
I got you.
little bitey here already.
Yeah, it's DB's fault. He got off.
We have not gotten along this morning.
He got us off on the wrong foot.
Why did you come in and sift this out? Like, why is it? I mean,
You're the third party moderator.
Yep. Got you're like Richard
I'm picking
Steele.
sides, though, so I'm picking sides. I'm choosing sides, so
Matty Mills Lane. But I do want to know though, Matt, because you're going to be right there in the thick of it. Who's more confident, Creighton's basketball team or the fan base?
Whew, that's a good question. You know what? I have actually heard some angst from the fan base. So
Me
I would say the team's definitely more confident than the fan base.
It's unbelievable how just one loss at Providence shifted everyone's emotions. This is still a really good basketball team.
No, for sure. I think that
And as long as no one in the NCAA tournament's allowed to commit felonies, they'll be fine.
Oh, Lord.
well, I mean, the NCAA tournament is more physical, so that's going to be a thing.
So maybe they won't be fine.
Ravi here for officiating.
Both fan bases might want to get used to that because if they're expecting kind of that the NCAA tournament by nature is more physical. Like more stuff gets let go. Some things don't. But yeah, you should probably get used to that. I think the fan base for Creighton, though,
Unless you're under like 2 seconds left against San Diego State, then it's not quite as physical.
yeah,
Things don't get let go quite as much there.
Oh, my
The
God.
first 39 minutes, though. So
What is going on?
Yeah, so that counts. It's fine. It's fine then.
Yeah.
Do you have post-traumatic J's disorder? Like, what is...
a lot of people, you hear him though. That's how they are. So like there's a lot of angst because.
What do you mean that's how they are? We've had a lot of pejoratives thrown around this morning
Ravi is not a fan of innuendos.
with theys and you guys and you people.
Yogurt aside.
I didn't say people though. I didn't go there.
No, DB did though, so that's fine.
So you really
Okay.
think? So you're feeling the anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, because people just. I mean, yesterday I tweeted out there's nothing but 40-minute seasons left. As many as 6 as few as 1.
Yeah.
And one of the first responses was I feel like I'm gonna throw up. So like, I definitely feel it. I hear it. It's like they're always know they're one bad game away from the dreams being crushed and having to wait all those months again to ramp back up to it. So yeah, I think that's normal.
I wouldn't say it's normal, but I think it is common. It's certainly not.
It's normal for Creighton fan base. It's normal for Creighton.
No, I think Creighton hasn't been in this position for very long. I think Creighton fans, most of them, myself included, still come at it from there's still a little Missouri Valley mindset there. And I think that's hard to shake.
No. Are you guys being serious?
No,
with
I
me
am being
right now?
serious. From a fan perspective, when
Do
you
know,
get to the
that was
NCAA tournament.
that was 10 years ago. You've been in the Elite Eight. You're constantly in the tournament. How are you having MVC setbacks?
Matt, am I wrong?
The NBC part of it, I'm probably not going to agree with. But here's where
See,
it comes.
3 for 3.
I didn't say that. It comes from this. Corver's senior year team won 29 games, more than any team in program history. Got a 6 seed. Was playing really well going into the tournament. I mean, just boat racing people going to the tourney. So like you couldn't have checked enough boxes to say like, is this the team that goes on a run. And everyone was kind of looking ahead to J.J. Redick versus Kyle Korver in the second round. And then Central Michigan just like dominated them. You know what I mean? So that was a 6 seed letdown. Doug's senior year team was a 3 seed and also had been playing well down the stretch and got embarrassed by Baylor, right? That wasn't even a competitive game hardly. 2017, Maurice Watson gets hurt, but they recalibrate some things, they make their way to the Big East title game and lose to Nova, go into the tournament as a 6 seed, lose to an 11. So I mean, there's that's in their memory bank. That's recent history. That's not like 1970s. That's recent, this modern era of Creighton basketball history where they have been single-digit seeds and have had some momentum going into the tournament and have gotten bounced in the first game or the second game. So that's where it comes from.
What's Max tourney record is 6-5, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Also, Ryan Kalkbrenner's tourney record is like 6-2. So I mean, he's pretty good as well. So yeah.
So
recently.
So do you like the Coach Mac John Gross matchup? Maybe not the John Gross at Illinois, because I think the first 2 years he won 20 games and then couldn't get out of the teens. But he does have Akron moving in the right direction. I think that's 3 straight 20-win seasons. What are the concerns there if you're looking at the actual matchup?
I'm fascinated by it because I think it sets up for something really high level because, you know, John Gross's teams historically have been double-digit seeds when they've made the tourney, except for the Illinois run, right? Yep. But not only have they won those games more than they've lost them, which is really hard to do as a double-digit seed, especially coming from a mid-major conference. But the ones that they've lost have been close. So, you know, and they were in a similar position in 2022. 2 years ago, they were a 13 seed, and they were playing a 4-seed UCLA team that was a shot away from going to the championship game the year before that, and they had all 5 starters back. Everybody was back, the whole roster. And that was like Akron had late leads. That was a back-and-forth game all the way down to the wire. They had a chance to clip them. So that was a Final Four caliber UCLA team that Akron went to the wire with, and 4 of their 5 starters from that game are back this year. They're still in the lineup. So, you know, Enrique Freeman, who's a stud, Ali Ali, you know, Michael Dawson, Greg Tribble, who is he's a really confident dude. He's their defensive stopper, their PG1, the tone setter. All those guys are back. So they played a team like this before in the tournament and almost beat them when they didn't have the confidence and belief to know that they could. Now they're coming in thinking, well, we almost did it before, so let's just finish the job this time. So from that point of view, this matchup is fascinating because not only is Creighton coming in with a lot of belief that they can go on a run, Akron's coming in with a lot of belief that they can stop them from doing it.
We're talking with Matt DeMarinis from the White and Blue Review. All right, now that you've given every Creighton fan a little bit of trauma to head into the game.
Well, it's not just that because I watched them last week, like just last week against
Akron,
Ohio, and they dealt Jalen Hunter and Sharif Fitz.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they both shot like 5 of 14, and maybe shooting isn't the thing, especially with those two guys. But you know, Ohio was like 21% from 3, and they held a good Ohio team in the low 60s. I think it was 67, 62 or 67,
65, 62.
65, 62.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're capable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really physical. They're experienced.
Who guards Ali?
They have a lot of the boxes you want to check for a team, for a mid-major that's going to pull off an upset. They check those boxes.
Who do you think guards Ali?
Yeah, I don't know, because like he has hit 3 threes in his last 2 games, but I don't know if it's necessarily a big part of his game.
He's just kind of sneaky.
Yeah, like, and I was watching him shoot yesterday, and it definitely doesn't look like there's I guess it looks like he has to kind of get hot, kind of thing. You know, it's not super consistent. So I mean, you don't want him to get hot, first of all. I mean, all of Akron's shooters outside of, you know, that play around Freeman are kind of streaky a little bit. They've all had, you know, stretches this season where they've gone off individually
So I think the recipe for their success is that can they get a couple of those guys hitting and in a rhythm in this game along with Freeman going off. So, but Ali, I don't know. It's a tough matchup because he's obviously long and, he covers a lot of ground. Like, he takes those wide steps so he can get into his spots, without having to have a burst of speed. At least in my opinion, but I think he wants to live in the mid range, and that's where Creighton kind of forces guys to go. So it's all about if they can, be in position with the drop coverage to contest his mid range jumpers, because that's kind of where he wants to live. I think that's his first option. So I would guess Creighton would be okay, but probably someone like Baylor first of all, because of the way Ollie can score.
Coaches don't often like to say out loud and mention body clocks and time of day of games, but I do think there's something to it, especially when you're not on a weekend. Would you rather be Creighton playing in, around noon, or Nebraska not playing until 6 o'clock on a Friday night once the tournament's going?
Everything I've ever heard over all these years about like coaches and players is they don't like sitting around all day.
It sucks.
Especially for a big game. Like, it'd be one thing if it was just like a bye game in November or something, then you just kind of chill. But if it's like a big game where there's a lot of hype and your juices are flowing, you want to get that adrenaline kick-started at an earlier time. That way you can just utilize it and go. For Nebraska, that's going to be really hard because there's so much surrounding this game. Their first tourney win, can they get it? They haven't been to the dance in 10 years, the Trev Alberts drama. Like, there's going to be a lot of noise, and it's going to be a really hard challenge for them to kind of get into the right state of mind to play basketball, waiting around all day. I'd rather be – I guarantee even Nebraska would rather be Creighton. They just want to get the game going.
Matt, let's go national here a little bit while we've got you. Who are – because I know you watch a ton of everything. Who are some of the teams that – I mean, obviously everybody's like, UConn's good. Who are some of the teams that you look at in this field where maybe not national title, but you think, hey, this team could make a little bit of a run here?
Hopefully you'll say Kansas for our mutual benefit. And I kid because I care.
I don't know if Kansas
I told Ravi on, was it Monday?
Yeah.
I go, holy smokes. I said, Matt's got me by the throat.
You go, I might be in trouble.
I might be in trouble.
Okay, so there's two 12 seeds here that I think one made noise early in the season, first night, and has kind of gotten forgotten about a little bit because they went back in their own league. And then there's another one that their head coaches are going to be there next year, and that's McNeese State and James Madison. Like, here's James Madison has Wisconsin in the first round, and I know Wisconsin's playing better now, but they've already beaten a Big Ten team in its own gym. So they're not going to be like shook up by the whole like, oh yeah, this is a power conference team. Look out, can we beat this team? And then they get maybe Duke in the second round, like a Duke team that I don't know. We've talked about them throughout the season. Like, they just don't really scare me a whole lot, and so they could get to a Sweet 16 matchup with Houston in my mind fairly easily. I think easier than you would think a double-digit seed could. And then McNeese State gets Gonzaga in round one, and then a really banged up, very weird chemistry Kansas team right now, possibly in round two, unless Stanford clips them. So that I could see McNeese State getting to a Sweet 16 and a matchup with, maybe Purdue. And then I can see James Madison getting to a Sweet 16 matchup with Houston. Like, those are two teams I think. I'm not going to say that they should be favorites, but I could see it easily in a world where they knock off the higher seeds in front of them.
Mm.
Who is? Go ahead.
If you're looking for dark national champion, or if you're just looking for a deep run from them?
No, just regular deep runs. I don't. I think it's trying to predict a national champion out of a dark horse is a little bit tricky. Who on the other side of that coin? Who are some of the really highly seeded teams? So I guess first couple of lines that you look at and go, yeah, I think they might be taking an early trip home.
I mean, Kansas is an easy one.
That's a 4, though. I don't give me like first couple of lines.
Jeez, you're so demanding.
I am.
You like his delivery? It's my favorite.
I know. And he has that dry look in his eye when he's talking to you too. Half the time, I think he's asking me questions he doesn't even care about my answer.
It's not that I don't care about your answer. It's just I'm dead inside, so I always look like that.
Oh, gotcha. Jeez. Okay, I don't want to hype up your listeners here, but
let's do it.
I think I don't think there's a crazy world where Houston loses to either Nebraska or A&M.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a crazy world where that happens. Because they have to stop you. They have to be physical. They have to create turnovers. And if you can just calm down and execute against them, I think you can put them in a stressful situation and possibly clip them. I think if you're looking for, one seed that could possibly go down early, I think everyone's kind of looking at Purdue because of recent history. But UConn and Houston don't have easy roads to the Sweet 16, in my opinion.
I kind of feel like that week one is North Carolina, though. I listen to a lot of national guys, and it seems like, and granted, they are the fourth one, so duh. But people seem to think that region is pretty volatile because I keep hearing they have the weakest of the top four seeds.
Well, I mean, Mississippi State just waxed Tennessee, and then Michigan State is Izzo. So I mean, there's something there, but I don't know. Even Carolina losing to NC State the way they did, where they really just I thought they were chasing the game the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, RJ Davis is still just so good. He is like a one-man microwave. He can go off and carry a team, and then Baycott, when they use him. When they actually throw the ball into the man, he's tough.
Yeah, he's just such a liability defensively. But and he's a great defense. And let me say that correctly. He's really good with paint protection and can run the floor. He makes defensive teams. But what happens when they play small ball against him? He gets stressed to the gills.
Yeah, I just think everyone's probably looking at Purdue because they just got bounced in one. I think Purdue's really good. I have a hard time thinking they're getting clipped because I like them. I think they're actually built for a deep.
Let me ask you guys
I think UConn and Houston are the teams they're gonna run into some teams that can beat them in the second round.
I'm telling you, I could. I'll talk about the bracket later. I don't have UConn in my Final Four, and I know I'm
going.
Call me crazy, but. I don't have UConn in my Final Four. Why do you think when people talk about Houston, we act like, or we seldom talk about LJ Cryer?
I think it's just because how good Jamal Shedd's been, probably. I think it's natural to kind of gloss over.
I mean, he's their leading scorer. He's their best shooter. And it's almost like he's an afterthought.
Well, because Shedd's the head of the snake.
I understand the what. I don't understand the why.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Houston's dynamic there, but I think, I just think it's because Shedd's is done. I don't think for me, it doesn't go any further than that. I think Cryer is really good. I just don't think you always ask these really thoughtful questions. It makes me think about it. Why don't I respect LJ Cryer? I don't know. I think it's just because Shedd's so good that, I think everything around him is just playing off of the tone he sets. You know what I mean?
His ability to go on a heater is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, he can take over 94 feet. He can take over the entire court. That's how good he is when he's on. You know what I mean? You're watching something special when he's giving you buckets and he's just making your life miserable. That's a really rare ability, and he's got it. So I think that's what overshadows everything else about Houston is because without him, I mean, they might be in the 8. They might be in that pod, but they'll be in the 8-9 game, not the 1-16. You know what I mean?
I'm not picking any 12s over 5s. I don't.
None.
And I know, right? Statistically, I
think I ended up taking one.
I'm bucking the trend, but Wisconsin's not losing. Listen, I watched James Madison all the time. and I love him. Like I was. I mean, it was DB for the Dukes here about, what was that, 3 weeks ago?
Mhm.
They're not going to beat Wisconsin. UAB has the biggest mismatch going as a 12 of any of them. Could I see? Now, here's the funny thing. This is what I was going to say. Now, if there's some 12s that are going to make a run, man, I could easily see it being a team like Grand Canyon before like McNeese, because McNeese is not going to beat Gonzaga either.
Really?
No, Maddie.
Gonzaga's kind of a soft 5.
They are, but don't believe the hype, Maddie. Don't believe the hype.
I mean, they can all shoot, and they've got like pogo sticks walking around on that court.
Yeah, and Will Wade is still their coach, and Gonzaga's. When's the last time Gonzaga hasn't made a Sweet 16? Has it been about 7 years?
Yeah, but they've been like a 1 seed most of that time. It's a different deal.
I'm telling
They had
you.
a lot of lottery picks on those teams too. It's a different deal.
And I keep saying state. It's not. It's just McNeese. But
Yeah, they're like Memphis. They dropped the state.
I don't.
If I rank the 12s I thought were, I just got done picking 2 of them. I think McNeese has the best chance.
So I actually think it's Grand Canyon. Only because of their pace, and St. Mary's is pretty methodical. So maybe the pace catches up with St. Mary's, but if you're looking for a 12 that could actually win, I would start out, and I'm not taking them, but I would start with Grand Canyon.
It's been a decade, by the way, since they haven't made it out of the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say Salt Lake City was the last time I remember them not making it.
It was 2013, 2014. But again, you're talking about top 10 national teams for that entire run.
Hey, Maddie,
this year.
Since you kind of had me by the jugular with Creighton and UConn over Kansas and Houston, let me give you let me make you another proposal. You can either text me or you can answer me now.
All right.
I'll say that more 13s will beat a 4 than 12s will beat a 5.
Okay, so your 13s, just for posterity, we got Samford, Kansas,
Charleston, Bama,
and Bama. We've got
Yale, Auburn, and Vermont and Duke.
I kind of like Yale, Auburn.
Auburn is going to make a run. You're going to be shocked.
I don't like that more than the one we've got right now with.
Okay, it's worth a shot. I was just gonna,
because we've been brewing that one up all season.
I
so
know.
feel like we need to
I got strong arms.
Trying to get out of it in the worst way.
Yeah, Kansas, man.
But the 13th was not exciting enough for me to get out of a year-long debate. So
are you sure? Like you can hit me up later if you want.
No, we need to fix that. But we're just edge, but. Oh.
Maddie, enjoy the time in Pittsburgh. Hopefully you're watching a couple Creighton W's. I'm sure we will talk to you again next week as we recap opening weekend of March Madness. We appreciate you, Maddie.
Sounds good, boy. Thanks for the time.
See you, Maddie.
All right, love you, buddy.
Take it from a guy that's been in Pittsburgh. The sandwiches with fries on there, overrated.
What are you even doing here?
They just are.
You don't like French fries?
It's a miserable place to drive to, logistically.
DB with horrible food takes on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Well, if you haven't been buckled into the show so far, you might have gotten a little bit of whiplash from the roller coaster that DB's taken me on this morning. But if you haven't had your seatbelt on while you're driving, it could be much worse. Using your seatbelt saves lives and prevents injuries, but only if it's worn properly. Make it click. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're live on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Live on the Pillar Exterior stage. What are you doing? What, you looking around? You all right?
Well, it's 12 to 11 in the top of the ninth.
All right. So how many over-unders on how many mentions you're going to make before the rest of the
Well,
show
there's only one inning, so I'm good. You can give me any number.
You're going to be okay?
Yeah, I won't mention it again until it goes final.
All right. Let's talk about the NCAA tournament. Let's talk about the bracket.
How about some Euro meat on the line?
Nope, not doing that again. Not right now.
And let me say that slow. Euro meat.
Euro? Some
Yes.
hero?
I want people to
Some gyro?
misinterpret what I said.
How about them apples?
I will say Euro meat's incredible.
It is. It's
so good.
Yeah.
When I worked downtown, there used to be this place in the Brandeis food court
Mhm.
below.
You're going way back.
Well, no, so the food court still exists.
Yeah, the building though has been
Yes.
revamped.
It's like an apartment building now.
Yeah, significantly.
But they still call it the food court down below. It's like it's underneath a bunch of the
there
buildings
was
down
the
there.
burger place and the doghouse and
So they've got there's I don't know if it's still down there because I haven't been down there in years, but the Athenian, it was this Greek place.
Mhm.
I used to legit just go and be like, hey, I want like a double serving of gyro meat and French fries, and that's it. Like that's my lunch.
I love.
And I used to do that. Like the first few times I did it, they're like, that's all you want? You don't want peanut, nothing?
I would take Greek over
It's really good.
Mexican.
And then after the first couple times, they just had it ready for me when I would go down there for lunch. It was terrific.
I eat it right out of the styrofoam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice big old styrofoam container.
You want a good
gyro
low
meat and
key?
French
You want a
fries?
good low key place that'll get it to you fast?
Where?
Fetters on 114th and Dodge.
Oh, I actually haven't been there. I haven't been to that one.
Really good meat.
I've been to like
Jim and Jenny's, really good.
I've been
Greek
to like,
Islands.
I was I've been to Greek
good,
Isles.
good meat. But the thing about it is, if I have like one thing, I don't want the meat in little chunks. I want like strips.
Yeah, I don't
So
want
that's
real.
so that's something that I kind of look for.
If you get real little chunks, sometimes they get a little too crispy and overdone.
But I do like a smidge of char. Like
I
I
like
want
a
some color.
little bit of crisp.
I
But
want
if
some
it's
color.
if you get the right amount of crisp and the pieces are too small, then it's not good.
I've put it in eggs. I've put it just plain.
You know what I really like? So I'll eat it plain.
There's a place in Memphis. I can't remember the name of it. It's a breakfast place.
Were you walking in Memphis?
Gosh, I've been there. You know that's where Cluster's from, by the way, Johnson. Memphis.
He's from Memphis?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
originally. Anyway, there's a breakfast place in Memphis that has a Greek omelet, and it is with
Feta
gyro
cheese?
meat and feta cheese.
I bet that's good.
It's unbelievable. What is the name of that place?
I like-
I haven't looked lately because I wasn't going to Memphis, but
I like feta cheese. I'm a big feta cheese guy.
me too.
I'll do
in,
like
in small doses though. I don't need a ton of it.
I like a salad, like a Greek. I know you don't really do salads, but
I like salads.
Oh, okay. So I'll do like
I like salads actually quite a bit.
So I like doing not like a full Greek salad because I don't like the
I'm not going to
olives.
order it though.
Yeah, I don't like the olives and all that stuff. But give me like a salad with feta and gyro meat, and then I'll do ranch on there because I like it better than the tzatziki sauce. But
I'm sorry, you sound like Sauter trying to say that word.
Tzatziki?
Yeah.
Tzatziki?
You should hear him say it
I
one time.
don't know the Greek sauce.
Fetters
has
Fetters has a spicy
that sauce
tzatziki
made out
sauce.
of yogurt too. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said I could have been talking about Greeks.
Yeah, you weren't though.
You know, Mykonos.
Yeah,
Rhode Island.
people often mistake me for Greek.
Yeah, kind of a goddess kind of
Well,
thing. Or
philosopher.
god. Yeah, are you a philosopher? you and Socrates. But
me and Plato.
Yep, 100%. Well played. I totally forgot what I was going to say. And I told myself dealing with you because you like to give as good as you get.
Yeah,
that wasn't going to happen to me.
Then you forget
and
what
you
you're
made
gonna
me
say.
forget what I was going to say.
My bad.
Yep. That one's going to leave a mark.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Damn it.
Let's
Fudge.
let's get to the bracket here.
Because as hard as you try, you haven't been able to do that to me.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
Well, you just stewing it for a minute. I'm going to talk about the NCAA tournament and the bracket.
With arms wide open.
With arms wide open.
Stewed like butter chicken, or
you don't stew butter chicken. What are you doing?
well, it simmers.
Yeah, simmer and stew aren't the same thing.
Well, kind of low heat. Chill for a minute.
No, not making butter chicken in a crock pot, bud.
Whatever.
What Dutch oven? I could do it.
That's not Indian.
Okay, clay pot.
Thank you. Thank you. If you're gonna be stereotypical, at least be authentic. All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're innocent until proven guilty.
100%.
At least be authentic. All right. So I think the 2 seeds are kind of weak. I think there's some hay to be made on the 2 seeds.
Okay. So you know what my weakest 2 seed is, in my opinion?
Marquette.
No. Oh no. If Marquette's going
Well,
and Kolick is healthy,
So that's my question.
hey, if Kolick is going,
If it's a big if.
the weakest 2 seed is Iowa State, in my opinion.
Yeah, because they can't score.
Yeah.
That's why I think Houston's the weakest one.
I do not. You know who I think the weakest one
You
is?
think it's Carolina?
No.
You just said it was Carolina to
That-
DeMarinis.
who I think is most likely to get beat first, not the weakest one.
Who?
Purdue.
Why?
Extreme. I just watch them play too much, and you could say the same thing about Carolina.
Mhm.
It's probably I watch Carolina way more, but there's a lot of time to get Edie away from the basket.
Mhm.
There's game plan, there's film study, and it depends on how they let the game go. He's the guy of anybody else in this tournament that needs the game to be officiated a certain way.
Mhm.
And I think he's vulnerable in March with the way that games are officiated.
So you like Purdue to lose first out of the ones.
Yep.
You think Iowa State's the weakest two.
Now, if this happens,
Yeah.
like if a one loses, I think it's Purdue. If a
But
two
even
loses,
if it's not first round, I'm talking first couple rounds.
I'm saying in general,
Yeah.
I'm covering you.
Yeah,
This is my covenant.
Because we won't be
This
back.
is me tearing the curtain. This is my covenant. I am
You're
covering
tearing the veil.
Yes, I am covering you. I'm saying if a seed that we're talking about is going to go down, this is who I think is most susceptible.
So the reason I say Marquette is Tyler Kolek hasn't played in a hot minute.
Mhm.
I don't know how healthy he is. I think he's going to try and go. I don't know how healthy he is. Because, I mean, have you had an oblique issue before?
No, but I have torn my groin.
So kind of similar obliques, groins, hamstrings.
At least if he's pain free, he's good.
Oh, but he's good to go to start. If that thing is not where it was before, one wrong turn and he's back in the problem.
Guess what I don't do?
What's that?
I don't work myself up into contingencies.
I understand that, but this is a very
I'm with
viable
you.
contingency.
I'm with you.
Like this is not like a what if. I don't want to put this on your guy, so I'm not going to say RJ Davis. What if Zach Edey rolls his ankle? Like I'm not doing that.
You know, an easy person to say that about is Baycott. Something he gets nicked once a game.
Yeah,
and he'll inevitably hobble off and he'll sit down for a second and he'll come
But
back.
let's say for the one time it's worse for Baker. Like that to me is playing hypotheticals, whereas I'm talking about an existing injury that I don't know the status of.
Fair.
I think that's a little different.
You take Marquette.
I'll take Marquette.
I'll take Iowa State.
I don't love Rick Barnes. I do feel okay about Tennessee.
Tennessee's a good basketball team.
And they have a dude.
Mhm.
If you've got that's why I look at Iowa State.
He can single-handedly kept them in against Kentucky in a scoring fest.
Yeah. I look at like Iowa State and I'm like, they don't have one of those dudes.
What I text you? Was that Saturday?
Maybe.
Yeah, you might have been at the Creighton game or getting ready to go to the Creighton game. Didn't Tennessee play Kentucky on the second?
Probably.
I was texting you on a Saturday.
Yeah.
No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the Saturday after. I was just down in the basement folding laundry, and I'm like, connect, LOL. Like,
yeah,
dude,
he's that dude.
And Tennessee was playing pretty poor. So offensively, sometimes they can stand around and watch him.
Mhm.
That's the difference between Connect and Domask, because we're those big, rangy guards that dribble the ball a lot.
Mhm.
With Domask, he gets guys
moving.
involved.
You keep moving. Yeah, because he's more of a point forward.
Yeah,
point
with
guard type.
Connect, people typically stand around and watch him. But I'll entertain Tennessee, although I do think they're pretty good.
I will say in the NCAA tournament, the Connect thing usually works okay.
Yeah.
Because things bog down a little bit.
Mhm. And you need a guy that can go get a bucket.
So you get a little bit more of that ISO ball, a lot of more of that ball-centric offense type thing. Because that's why Creighton has struggled in the past in the NCAA tournament. It's because they haven't always had a guy that can go get a bucket like that.
I got a guy.
System-oriented.
Who's your most vulnerable three?
My most vulnerable three. So we're talking Creighton,
Kentucky, Baylor, and Illinois.
I think Illinois has the highest variance.
It's Baylor.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I don't love Baylor. I think Illinois has the ability to either make a Final Four or get bounced super early. Super high variance on Illinois because of the defense.
More vulnerable for Kansas or Alabama?
I mean, it's Kansas because nobody's playing. I mean, that's my issue. Alabama's kind of the same as Illinois, though.
Right.
No defense. We're wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exteriors stage. And I want to remind you what you have left to do for your Warhorse Casino $1 Million Bracket Challenge. You got your entries in. You got your picks in through yesterday. At least I hope you did. Now you need to make sure you go validate those entries, activate them in person at the Warhorse Casino in Lincoln through the 24th. You can activate those entries. You have to activate the entries to be eligible for the $1 million grand prize for a perfect bracket or for the $10,000 in prizes for the top brackets, including weekly prizes. Make sure you go get your entries activated at the Warhorse Casino in Lincoln until March 24th. If you want to get in on the prop card challenge, you can still earn more entries through the 28th because this is just for the semifinals and finals for the prop card challenge. You got a whole nother week to get a $50 sportsbook bet in or $50 or 50 points earned in slots or racing. Any prop card that gets at least 18 of the 25 correct is eligible for cash or free play. Make those entries between April 1st and April 5th. That's Warhorse Casino. If you have any questions, warhorsecasino.com. All right, as we effort Brian Edwards here to get some of our
changing Wi-Fi locations.
Yeah, sometimes the internet doesn't work. You gotta roll with the punches there. It's, something that we've
had to do this morning.
Become familiar with a little bit.
Wait,
I don't like it.
Did you get set up again?
Yeah,
you got booted.
Yeah, my thing's not.
All I
thing's
could
not
see was
working
my
this morning.
big head. And I
That's
was
all
like,
right. We'll figure it out. My computer.
I need somebody else's big head.
Shame on me.
Well, my head looks like it's getting bigger as the hairline is retreating quickly.
Shame on Shane.
Shano.
It's got to be touchdown.
So we were talking about.
He could have just called us too, Shane. I think he enjoys streaming for some reason.
He just likes to see our beautiful faces,
Yeah, not mine, because I don't know much. It's not your beauty, it's your booty.
So should be soon. Should be about a minute or so.
You said number 4 seeds as we were going off the air before the break.
I know the obvious answer for
you
the
gave
lay
me
is
Kansas or Alabama.
Yeah.
And sometimes the obvious answer is the right answer. Sometimes, right? I think you have to look at Kansas and say, hey, they're super banged up. I know Dickinson is playing. I don't know, again, kind of with the Kolick thing, I don't know how healthy he's going to be.
I kind of trust Self to get a game.
Probably, but
would not shock me at all if
wasn't that long ago that Self was that guy between the national titles. He lost a lot of early games.
Yeah, he did.
Right? So I know we give him the benefit of the doubt, and rightfully so. He's one of the best coaches we've got going, but it's not like he isn't without the history of getting bounced early.
Mm-hmm.
And if any team,
I mean, competitive
sure
sports, like that'll happen.
Absolutely, right? I'm not hating on Bill Self. I'm just saying it's not like he's immune to it. Kansas, if there's ever a year where it makes sense for them to get bounced in one of the first couple rounds, it's this year where they started off shorthanded in the season and they had maybe 4 guys you trusted at any given time. One of those guys is out for the rest of the season. So you're at best 3. That's assuming Dickinson is full go and ready to play, which they're saying he is. We will see. But you mentioned Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama has the Illinois problem.
I've watched. Yeah. What would you like to know about Bama?
Because anything you'd like to tell me.
Well, they're a headache. They're a streaky. I like the Illinois comp, but I will say this: the Illinois 5 is better than Bama's 5.
Yes,
but the volatility,
stylistically,
or the variance,
yeah.
But the variance,
yeah.
I completely agree with. I think that is dead spot on.
They can score with anybody.
Yep.
They can put up a ton of points.
And they're going to shoot that thing in about the first 6 seconds, and it is controlled chaos.
They want that game in the 90s.
Yeah,
but they have. I mean, they can't stop anybody.
Mm-mm.
They can't stop They cannot stop a soul, and that's going to be a problem, right? Charleston. I don't know if they're going to be the ones to get them, but Alabama has a huge level of variance in how I think their tournament run can go. Same thing with Illinois.
Yeah,
I think you're talking about a really high risk, high reward situation.
But so the difference for me between the Fighting Illini and Alabama is one is more about the players, the other is more about the coach.
So you trust
Illinois
players, but not their
talent
coach.
is better.
You trust Oates, but not as many of the players.
Correct.
So if Nate Oates was coaching Illinois,
I'd feel better.
Let's off to the races.
I'd feel better.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we've been talking about Underwood for a month now.
But that's
right?
the difference for me between the two.
Yeah. So if you give me, let's say, I don't know, who's another high-paced offensive coach that you like?
Derek DeVries.
Well, now he is, right? That's new for him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you give D-Rock, Illinois talent, let them run.
Oh yeah,
because their defense immediately got better.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Even like a Bruce Pearl. Would you trust a Bruce Pearl more than you do a Brad Underwood?
I don't trust Bruce Pearl. Whoever brought him up yesterday, I thought it was a fantastic example of coaches you don't trust.
Yeah. Who were we talking? Kerry? Was it Kerry Miller?
Yep, it was.
No, that was a good call by his boy. That's why I kind of brought him up though. Is on the level of trust.
Nick Bod did too.
That's right. Where do you trust Bruce Pearl as opposed to Brad Underwood?
In about the same.
Because Bruce Pearl does have a little bit of history of actually making some runs.
Yeah.
And Underwood doesn't.
I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
Of the SEC teams that can get hot to make a run,
you like Auburn a little bit
more than Kentucky. Kentucky's going to be a trendy pick because of their matchups,
because the talent,
their high-end matchups.
Yeah, with Shepard and Dillingham.
But Auburn is the team. Auburn can come at you.
We've got Brian here, by the way.
Auburn can come at you in waves.
Coming at us in a wave is our guy, Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. B, what's going on? You're on mute, I think. Here we go. Oh, I hear. How about now? We got you, but you're real quiet. Do you have any volume there at all? We'll see how we'll see if we can get this sorted out here.
Hi, B. Just saying hello. Look, you got some help too. When you get a partner in crime, two heads are always better than one, unless your partner is mine in Ravi.
Whoa!
What?
Outrageous.
Well, I bring down the mean. I can do bad all by myself.
V, did you hire an IT guy? What's going on here?
What about now? Better?
He's got the greatest T-shirt known to man. I know that.
T-shirt. Yeah.
That's Big Ten. Yeah, let's go.
Representing.
We can also do 9:30. Yeah, I can do 9:30.
Hi, Big.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Let's roll.
Oh, let's go.
What do you got, buddy?
All right, let's go Mississippi State.
Just crashing at neighbors to get the internet or what? It must be rough being well liked.
Hey, CenturyLink is the worst company ever. So I lost my internet last Thursday. This is day number 8 without internet. Don't even get me started. So CenturyLink stinks.
You know what's funny? You've been hating on them for years. I think it's karma. Do you believe in karma?
Well, so there's construction going on my road, and they clipped the internet line, but they have not gotten it fixed. So anyway,
then they come back and they patch your grass, and it's like, hey, this doesn't look like it used to. So I think we got a raw deal.
I got a raw deal. I don't think they're going to do anything good for me because I've been blasting them on Twitter. So guys, Mississippi State +1 against Sparty. So Mississippi State has played 9 games on a neutral court this year. 8-1 straight up, 9-0 against the spread. All 7 wins by double digits, 8 wins by 9 or more. Michigan State 3-10 against teams in the field. None of those wins outside of Michigan and Sparty. 2-5 straight up, 3-4 ATS in their last 7. Give me the Bulldogs.
Nash and Kevin Steiner and Hulk Hogan. NWO was great, but you got a different wolf pack that you like. Today, tomorrow. We going to Nevada? Are you a Nevada lover? Anti-Dayton? What do we got here, B?
Well, I love the location advantage. So Reno is a higher elevation than Salt Lake City. Dayton is flying west into altitude. Nevada's in much better form. 10-2 straight up, 9-3 ATS in the last 12, including road wins at Utah State, at UNLV, at Colorado State, and at Boise State. And Dayton 3-3 against teams in the field, 5-4 straight up, 3-6 ATS in their last 9. Whereas Nevada is on fire. Give me Steve Alford's team -1.
B, last year's darlings, FAU going up against Northwestern, 2.5-point favorite. What do you like?
Lean FAU, but my main play is over 142. So FAU, 24 of 33 games this year, they've had at least 143 combined. They average 83 points per game, and their combined scores average 156.3, and the overs on an 18-8 run for Northwestern. And the Wildcats are ranked 8th in the nation in 3-point accuracy, hitting 39.6% of their trays per game, and FAU's had at least 147 combined points in 12 straight games.
Now this one's interesting. It's a tough matchup for Drake, but I do think they're capable because they have the best player on the floor. What do you think about Drake and Wazoo?
Yeah, and the coach's son, DeVries, he had a horrible game against Miami last year. And you're right, he is their best player, but he was 1 of 13 from the field last year. They led Miami in the first round of the tournament by 8 with 4.5 minutes remaining. Canes go on a 16-1 run and win. So Drake and DeVries is really wanting to make amends. And the Bulldogs didn't play the toughest schedule, but 6-1 in 7 games against Ken Palm top 100 teams. I think they win and cut or lay in 1.5.
B, I'm wondering here, Nebraska, Texas A&M, obviously a very hot matchup here, not just because of the Huskers, but because of who they're playing and who their new AD is. How do you feel about that matchup?
So when I woke up Monday and I saw the total 145, I could not believe it. I was like, that's the worst number out there. I jumped on the over, thank goodness, because 45 minutes later, it was 147. I haven't looked at the odds this morning yet, guys. 147.5 at last look. I still like it. I mean, obviously, I feel better at the small or at the better number 145. Reasoning over 22-8 in Nebraska's last 30, and the overs on 11-2 run for A&M in its last 13.
Let's jump down to one that we've gotten into real quick here. Gonzaga they're going to catch some points. McNeese is a trendy pick. Gonzaga looks vulnerable. What do you think?
Yeah, I like McNeese to get to the Sweet 16. They've got 24 of their 30 wins by double-digit margins, and they're 4-1 against the spread, 3 outright wins, 5 games as underdogs, and they've won 25 of 26 going back to November 28th. And I've got Nevada and McNeese State are my double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16.
B, real quick, national championship matchup. Who is it?
UConn beats Creighton.
Ooh, you got one of those things right. We'll talk to you next week, Brian.
Thanks, B.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and live on the Pillar Exteriors stage. We are efforting Michael Bruntz, yes? Shane, are we efforting Michael Bruntz?
Yeah, I left him a voicemail already.
Hello,
I'm
friend.
going to leave him in the text here, and then we'll see what's
Nah,
up.
man, I'm gonna send Bruntz a message like we're the feds. Let's go.
We're not the feds, though.
I know.
We're not, in case anybody's listening,
We're probably more apt to break the law than follow the law.
we're not impersonating federal officers here. I know DB's making jokes, but
You can't do that, right? That's frowned upon.
no,
to even
it's
say out
getting
loud.
a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Don't want to get in trouble here. I'm just trying to watch basketball today. I'm trying to have a good time.
You're just here so you can watch basketball.
Just trying to tell
Are you going to order the wings with the $1 breading up charge and have a field day?
maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll hang out here for
It's
some
like
games.
baby
I
pieces
don't
of
know.
fried chicken here.
Oh, it's incredible.
So good.
I'm a little, I don't know if I want to watch the Creighton game in public. I haven't decided yet.
Oh,
Whatever. I don't watch games in public guy. Don't give me that.
That's because of my affinity for public spaces. It doesn't have anything to do with me being, not a.
That's
not sure.
That's not entirely true.
It's mostly true.
The teams that you care about, you're even less likely to watch in public.
Yeah, but so it'd be different. Like North Carolina is kind of random.
Right.
They have a lot of fans, but it's different when it's a local team.
Yes, because you're going to be taking strays from people.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not about that. I'm not trying to do that today.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need that level of anxiety
I
today.
told you about sitting in the crowd at Nebraska sporting events. I'm like, yeah, this is rough.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take those strays today.
Yeah, Michael.
Terrific.
How do you know he wants to be called Michael? Did you ask him? What if that's not acceptable?
Well, I mean, he goes by Michael, I think.
Michael, is it okay to call you Michael, or should we have said Mike or Bruntzy or what? Who says Michael?
Does anybody call you Mike?
A few people call me Mike. I rarely get the only people that call me Michael are my wife and my parents.
I knew he was going to say his wife. I knew it.
And occasionally my children when they're trying to annoy me.
Oh, you're that guy. You're such a young parent. You let your kids call you by your first name. That's cute.
Oh, I don't let them, but they do. I'm not in charge of anything there. So,
I would punt my kids down the street.
Yeah.
Reggie Roby style.
I mean, you don't like it when anyone says your full name, DB. You get mad at me when I'm like, hey, I'm doing a show with David Benning. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
If
First name, last name.
If Micah came home and called me Damon, I would punch him right in his left ear. Like, Micah, why are you so dizzy?
It's kind of cute when my 2-year-old does it. My 5-year-old, not so much. She knows what she's doing, but the 2-year-old, I can handle that sometimes.
Bruntz, you feeling okay? You sound like the voice is bothering you a little bit. You doing all right?
Well, Memphis guy.
Yeah. No.
Did Beale Street get you?
We didn't get to Memphis until about 1 last night, so I'm a little tired. But no, I'm good.
And you drove too, right? How inconvenient but typical Nebraska fashion was it when you just book a trip? You're like, hey, we're going to Memphis. We're going to cover this. We know you got to do pro day. We're going to get on the road. Then everything breaks, and you're like, do you want to drive? I have some typing to do. Like,
it was funny. Like, the worst part was pro day because it's like you're sitting there, and I mean, guys got to run routes. They got to do what they got to do. But it's like, okay, we got to move this along here, people. It's like, have we seen enough? Have we seen enough, guys doing things? No? Okay, we're going to keep doing drills. Okay.
He said no.
You weren't there to watch the UNK guys go through their paces? Or
how about my favorite is, hey, Kalen and Raiola threw. I'm like, you guys will grasp at anything.
100%. You want to know how much of that I watched to watch those guys throw? More than I'm proud of.
Micah was watching it on Instagram when I picked him up from school.
More than I'm proud of,
Damon,
DB.
Damon,
yes.
You could. I don't want to say this out loud, but there were a lot of scouts that were watching that portion of pro day really closely. And probably not for who was catching the pass.
They weren't
watching Joshua Fleeks. Come on, man.
They weren't big Billy Kemp guys.
They were watching, I think, the passers a little bit more than the receivers. So that's just something to put in your back pocket for 3 years from now. I guess.
Here we go. How convenient. Here we go.
Yep.
Bruntz, as you're watching pro day and you're watching the entire administrative part of the university get redone in real time here, what have you learned about the new Nebraska AD Dannen in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, I'll say this. Here's what I appreciate about Nebraska, though, is like you have all of these like loose ends. They're very good about just tying things up in about like 30 minutes. Like
it kind of felt like the end of The Godfather, just taking care of all family business in one scene.
Yeah. Yep. And then just fade to black. So yeah, that's kind of what I've learned in the last 24 hours. I mean, I think he's a guy that's pretty well respected. Obviously, the tenure at Washington was pretty short, but he did a lot in 5 months. I mean, he hired a football coach, fired a basketball coach, and he's a guy that knows the Midwest. I think probably more instructive about kind of what he's done is what he did at Tulane. And I don't know. I mean, you guys are probably pretty well aware that Willie Fritz is pretty well thought of around the Husker 24/7 offices. So, that hire carries a lot of weight, I think. I think Tulane's profile raised quite a bit during the time that he was there. And, I think, when you kind of, if you just kind of do like the blind resume, I think he profiles really closely to kind of what I expected Nebraska was going to pursue. I mean, I think they were searching for somebody with Midwest connections. They were searching for somebody that had Power 5, preferably, Big Ten, SEC type experience that's been at the big boy table. And, I think, this job is one that it's different than it's been at Nebraska before because of the circumstances in which Trev left. I mean, he left. He wasn't fired. And, there's not a lot of huge fires within Nebraska that he's going to have to put out right away. I mean, he's not going to have to rebuild the football program like a lot of other AD hires have had to do when they've been hired. I mean, that Dennis LeBlanc has done a very good job of extending contracts in the last week. So a lot of those things are taken care of.
He just got to go raise money for a $500 million stadium project.
I mean, there's that. I mean, I think that's going to probably be the biggest question is, where is that project at now? How much do you really need to move forward with that right now? I mean, I actually thought Matt Rule explained it pretty well, and it kind of lined up with what my dumb little brain can handle of like, yeah, it's a 100-year-old building. There's things that need to be fixed, like structurally. You probably need to have like better Wi-Fi in there so you can actually sell beer, and you can actually have a good point of system sales system. I mean, that stuff needs to be done. Like, you have to do it in 2024. But the other stuff, if I'm a new AD, the last thing I want to do is make my first interaction with a lot of people be the news that we're going to be taking your seats and you're going to be moving for, at least one season, maybe two. Like, it just, I think they need to be really careful with that portion of it. So that's the big piece. And then, of course, I mean, you've got everything else that's going around in college football, but I think at least the Nebraska stuff is on a much better footing right now than it's ever been for a new athletic director coming in. I mean, you guys can disagree with me on that, but I think a lot of the stuff that he's going to have to do is just kind of keep things going on the road that they are, while also being able to navigate all the other crap that's going on in college athletics right now.
Bruntz, from the comments you heard from Rule, did you get the sense that this was a name that was run by him at the very least before the hire was made?
Yeah, well, they talked. Rule said that they had talked. So
he seemed to know an awful lot, right? People will tell you a lot if you just listen.
Yeah, I mean, he said he was excited about the hire. He had talked to Troy about the job, so that to me was noteworthy. And yeah, I mean, there's some history there.
Seemed to rattle off a lot of accomplishments.
Yeah, well, and just the fact that he was talking yesterday during pro day is noteworthy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it started out with, I'm only going to give you guys 5 minutes, man. I got stuff to do. I got 5 minutes, guys. We got to go. And it turned into a little bit more than 5 minutes.
I don't know if you know, but coaches don't typically come over to the media during pro day. Like, that's not a thing.
Nope.
So the fact that he was coming over to talk about it, and he came over to talk about it, I think it was about like 7 minutes after the release went out announcing Troy, was noteworthy as well. It was funny because I didn't get the release in my email right away. So as he's sitting there talking, I'm like, is this official yet? Like, is this how they're going to do it? But it was just my stupid email. So
Matt Rule's just out there making official announcements for people.
Who asked the gold question when he said, "Hey, I don't want to speculate. Like, I want to talk about it unless somebody tells me it's been named." Like, who asked that follow up? Because I was like, man, you guys must really think he's on to the breaking news.
It was BC. BC was just.
It sounded like his voice, and then BC was like, "Yeah, it's understandable," or "That's cool," or "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, he chastised him."
He just asked. You got to ask, right?
Right?
I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, he could have said something that the news was out. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at least from the head coach's perspective, I think it was a good hire. I think that they found somebody that kind of rattled off what Matt Rule was wanting when he was talking the other day.
DB, do you have anything you want to ask before I get into my president conspiracy theories?
Bruntz, just one question. So as you're listening to Coach Rule and you listen to the Board of Regents announcement on Dr. Gold, your initial thoughts were what? You knew this all along. Why now? How convenient? Like
could this have been done like 2 weeks ago?
I know you joke about your aptitude, but you and I both know that you're like president of Mensa International. So like, what were you thinking like real time as the news hits in succession?
Well, I think everybody got their act together a little bit. It's interesting. My initial thought was, well, wasn't this kind of what the previous AD probably would have wanted?
That seemed to be the prevailing notion, huh?
That was one thought. My other thought actually kind of went to the AAU stuff because
mine too.
I mean, you hire him. It seems like you're setting the table for doing that, and I mean, I think it's. I know a lot of people roll their eyes about the AAU stuff, but it's a big deal. And if they can get that figured out, that would be a really big win for the university. So,
do you know why
you
know why people thought it wasn't a big deal, Bruntz? I'm convinced of this. It's because Nebraska waived their status. That's why we convinced ourselves it wasn't a big deal. If any other time we were the only something to not be part of something, we would be in an uproar.
Yeah. No, I mean, it helps you sleep at night when you say that, well, you don't want me. Well, fine. I mean, it's a blow to the ego, but it matters. And especially with.
Sounds like divorce.
Yeah.
Not that me and DB would know anything about that.
So, but I mean, you're like if you're looking big picture, right, in college athletics right now, like you don't want to have any reason why you would not be part of the big boy table, right?
Yep.
Like you want to have that buttoned up, and that's kind of where my mind that and just like why that, like why are we doing this all today? Like like it just felt like we could have had this wrapped up a little bit ago. But I mean, I get that's how searches work. It takes time, and this really actually wasn't a slow one in terms of how these usually work. But that was my thought was, well, I mean, he's been known, he's been there, but I think he'll do well. I mean, I from talking to people that know him, he's a hard worker, and I think kind of having that person that's been at UNMC and understands UNL, I think that'll help a lot.
Bruntz, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios here that I think are possible for the timing and name of the priority candidate for president in Dr. Gold. You tell me which one you think is the most plausible, okay?
Okay. Look at my tinfoil hat on here.
It's not.
Hey, we almost. Well, I have,
full tinfoil,
I have a super big head. Otherwise, I would give you mine, Bruntz, because I keep one on the coat rack.
I think these are.
Okay.
I think these are plausible scenarios. So maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Okay. Number 1, the Regents. We're making the assumption that Dr. Gold is the candidate that Trev wanted, which I think is accurate. We can't know for sure, but these are all under that assumption. Okay. Number 1, the Regents did this as a giant bleep you to Trev. That's first scenario. Number 2, this was always going to be the decision, but Trev was trying to exert more influence over the process, and the Board of Regents didn't like that, and he didn't like getting rebuked. That's number 2.
Okay.
Number 3, the governor's call to action got the Board of Regents butts into gear, and they made a decision. Which of those do you think is the most plausible?
I think probably I would say a mix of 2 and 3. Can that be true?
So Trev trying to exert influence that they didn't want him to have, and the call to action kind of sped up the timetable.
So what's the influence? Like that he didn't? There was pushback with the South Stadium project.
No, that he wanted a bigger influence on who the person was.
What if
over the process? Or what did you mean? What did you mean, Bruntz?
Well, I think probably there was a little bit of interest there. I'm not saying he was like trying to get the pick, but I think like there was probably with the South Stadium stuff needing somebody there to kind of get things going long term. But I think the call to action. I mean, I think that I'm just totally speculating here, and I'll do it really quickly. Like it just feels like it was okay. We've got these internal candidates. We feel good about this one. Maybe not as excited as you would maybe want to, I guess, in a search like that. But I mean, I think you had a really solid choice kind of staring you in the face right there. So maybe it's like, look, okay, let's just do this, because I think there's a lot of positives there. Because my understanding was it was a little deadlocked. I mean, you needed somebody to switch. And,
you're talking about the 2 of the 5 votes originally for Gold.
Yeah, well, and you needed also to, I mean, the other option is the failed search, and I don't know that was
I'm with you.
really a good option there for anybody. So
I'm with you because as I kind of look at like and I hate to bring in politics, but the political climate of it is Dr. Gold appears to be somebody that may stand in some opposition with some of his views. So maybe it wouldn't have been viewed as favorably as somebody that's going to do his own thing because he appears to be a very independent thinker, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's probably a little bit too of like, well, you know who you know, right? Versus like, if you're bringing in somebody from the out, I don't know. I mean, I just think, I think there's also maybe a sense of like, okay, well, how long term of a decision is this? Like, I don't know if that factored in at all, but that, like I said, that's just me speculating.
Let me ask you this, Bruntz, just on kind of a humbug, as you're kind of looking at the landscape going forward with what you think may happen, take these into account: NIL, in-house, out-of-house, super conferences, and Nebraska's actual play on the football field. Are they better today on March 21st than they were on March the 15th?
Play on the football field, seat at the big boy table. What was the other one? There was one that the NIL going in.
Like the whole move. And I say those particulars, generally speaking, about the way college athletics is moving.
Yeah. That's a tough question because, and I don't think we can answer that yet. Like from reading what Troy said at when he was hired at Washington, I think he understands where things are headed.
Yep.
And as much as I understand there's frustrations with Trev right now, but he had a really good kind of read, I think, on where things were going really quick.
Yep.
And early on, especially with the NIL stuff. Like I think he understood that it's trending towards things going in-house, like that you're probably going to have some kind of revenue sharing there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he, for whatever faults people see in him, I think he understood the big picture pretty well. And I'll be eager to kind of see how that changes. There's a lot of what you just asked is kind of like, well, we don't know. And I know I'm supposed to have an opinion on it, but I mean, we won't know for 6 months.
All right. Well, let me throw in one more thing. What if the stadium expansion and that renovation project is quelled for the time being? Is that a pro or a con going forward? Because let's not act like that wasn't a big part of what I think was bugging Trev too.
No, I think if you pump the brakes on that a little bit, I think that's okay.
Okay.
Like like I said earlier, I mean, I think you can. There's things that need to be fixed. Like, and it's kind of like you have a house project, and you're like trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm going to redo my patio. What can I really do here, and like blow this thing out of the water, or like what really needs to be done right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it just felt like that project was a little bit ahead of where a lot of people were at with everything else at the university. Like you have a practice facility that's closer to getting done, but not done yet. They've done some stuff in the stadium already. Like just that you were doing it in the climate of budget cuts at the university. It just felt soon. And I don't know if that gets any better if you do it 2 years from now, or if you push it further down the road. But, to me, I've kind of been in the camp. You do what you have to do, and then you see about the other. You set yourself up for the stuff later on. Like I just don't know that this is a perfect time to be going around asking for money, especially you guys know this. I mean, if you get a couple good seasons of football, people are going to be.
It's a lot easier after 2 9-win seasons.
Hey,
right?
how much do you need?
Yeah.
How much do you need?
It's a lot easier sell after a couple 9-win seasons, right, Bruntz? Like it's an easier pitch.
It's an easier door to get in if you're doing it after 2 really good seasons, for example, with some good momentum. I mean, that was kind of my thought, was like it just, you needed to get the product on the field right before you start getting the product around the field. changed, I think. So
that's
where I'm at.
President of Mensa International, if you could ask your guy Fetters a question this morning, what would it be?
I would want to know about the search for dead fish. I would want to know how that was, because that was a weird time. Like, it was a weird time.
And he nailed it. Right?
Yes. Well, I mean, he got a guy. He got a guy. He got a guy with the record. That's good.
He got a guy.
Thanks, Bruntz.
That's Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Enjoy Memphis, Bruntsy.
I'll try. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Coming up next, we've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, live from the Pillar Exterior stage. And we are 1 week away from your Omaha Supernovas returning to the CHI Health Center for a match against the Grand Rapids Rise. That's 7 p.m. right here in Omaha. Make sure you go to supernovas.com for tickets, merch, schedule, whatever information that you need. That's supernovas.com. Good stuff there from Bruntz. Actually, Guy gave us an opportunity to talk about some of the things we were supposed to talk about in the first hour.
That we didn't get to. Was totally on me.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
I tried to reel it back in, and you were just going to play the game.
You chose violence, and I chose it back.
It's childish.
I already know I'm going to have a hang up on Troy Dannen's name.
Why?
I want to say Tony every time. And I think it's like a Tony Danza thing that I'm doing here. Troy Dannen, Tony Danza. And it's already in my head where it's going to be trouble. I'm just warning people now. I'm going to accidentally call him Tony at some point.
Do you like alliteration?
Sure.
Just think Tandoori.
Really? We're on that again?
No.
We're on that again?
I know how that sounded, but Tandoori is made with yogurt.
Yeah.
Troy
Dannen
yogurt. Yeah.
That's not really alliteration so much as that's
well, the T's start the same.
That's like ADHD math is what that is like.
Well, what was the analogy you gave, which was spectacular the other day about how I work?
Oh,
you went with Arizona. You went with like something in Arizona and wound up at Carolina.
We were talking about,
and it was fantastic. I was like, I probably would do that.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the Phoenix Suns and how you got to North Carolina, and I was like, well, Cam Johnson played for Phoenix, and then he, my guys in North Carolina, and they might end up back in the Final Four in Phoenix, and that's Arizona, and
so my buddy, who's the smoking extraordinaire, he was like, hey,
like meat or
yes,
other things.
Yes,
okay, because
yeah.
you got to be a little more specific when you talk about smoking.
I don't mean good green, although I'm not in.
I meant like cigars. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a cigar aficionado myself.
So yesterday,
like a nice Monte Cristo.
He was like, by the way,
big Cohiba guy,
big baseball guy too, just racking him up
like a Macanudo.
He's like, hey. There's this place that has the Packers on sale, $3.79 a pound.
The Green Bay Packers?
No, like the flat and a point from corned beef.
Oh, okay.
And he goes, "This is the cheapest I've ever seen it." And I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna put one of those on the smoker." And I go, So my initial reply was, "Hey, is it between the meat and the fresh cut chicken?" And he said, "No, it's on the corner where you get ready to leave the freezer section." And I go, oh, right by the frozen food breakfast stuff, because it's at a big store. And he kind of laughed, and I go, well, I like to remember where things are, because it was just weird that I knew right where he was talking about. And he goes, yeah, exactly. And I go, well, I said, full disclosure, that's not really my memory. I do understand space and numbers really well, but so when I walk into big places, I don't have to wander around and be vulnerable. I like to know exactly where things are. So when I grocery shop, I can do my thing.
You're not meandering.
Because you're very vulnerable.
If you're wandering, then people are going to talk to you.
Right. So
they'll talk to you.
And he's like,
I'm not recognizable.
And I think he was like, yeah, that's kind of weird. But that's exactly why I do what I do, which is kind of how my brain works.
You like map it?
If I need to memorize something, it has to
correlate.
Yeah, and it may not to you, right? Or
No, I mean,
to-
it makes
to Shane,
sense.
but it's how I work.
That still doesn't help me on the Troy versus Tony thing.
Tandoori, man, yogurt.
You know that Tony also starts with a T.
Sure.
That's the problem with
Sure.
your analogy there.
But Tandoori, Tori,
Troy,
Troy,
not Tori.
him too.
So I'm supposed to get from Tandoori to Tori to Troy. All just
Yes.
That's not how normal people's brains works.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense now. The story that I just told you is gonna put 2 and 2 together for you.
Yeah, now I'm gonna
You're gonna be like, man, I sat next to this idiot for
Now I'm
3
gonna-
hours yesterday morning, and he gave me this dumb analogy, but that's gonna stick.
Now I'm gonna call him Tori Dannen. That's the problem.
If you say Tandoori, I will fall the heck out.
I'm gonna call him Tandoori
And,
Dannen.
and you know what he's gonna say? I knew you liked yogurt.
I don't know what's happening.
You know who's probably pretty pissed right now?
Who?
One Joel Schaefer.
Yeah, probably.
I asked him if he had any Adderall, I would have taken it.
Well, he's fine. This is what the show is sometimes.
He's closer to being right all along, though. By the way,
Usually,
about the whole president thing.
Usually, this doesn't happen till July, but here we are.
We'll wait till July.
I have one remaining sort of crackpot theory on the whole situation with Trev and the president. And are you ready?
You big brain people like drive me up the wall.
I don't know about big brain, but I just like looking for stuff.
Okay.
All right.
You simply can't do that.
Is there any scenario in which you can imagine that, not to say that Trev didn't leave on his own volition, because he did, obviously. Is there any scenario in which the university was okay with distancing themselves from Trev Alberts?
I think I could see a situation in which some things were probably said down the stretch. And I mean, like the last couple of hours where you're like
burning bridges,
where you're like, okay.
Because if you look back at it,
because you're willing to put, it's like anything else dealing with conflict resolution with people you care about.
You're willing to put up with a certain amount.
There's always a line
And then
before
you're
it
not
gets
willing to
before it gets hectic.
So
I could see that.
What I'm asking, I guess what.
But I don't think there was a, well then fine, hit the door.
Well, I'm wondering if, I mean, that's sort of what they said though. Sort of. I mean, seemingly, it sort of seems like because from what it seems like is Trev sort of was trying to use a leverage play here and they weren't going for it. And essentially, if you're not going for it, you're saying, hey, you can go hit the door then.
Okay. So
is that fair, or am I reading too much into that?
Sure, but let me ask you something. If the South Stadium project and the president, in whatever order you want to put them in, because now everybody wants their pound of flesh. Oh, so you mean it wasn't about a president? Well, it kind of was, because
sure, the process of the president, whether
the
person or not, the person or the process.
I also think the Board of Regents made some concessions, because
Probably.
I'm not sure that was their guy all along. Now I'm speculating, there,
Sure,
but if it was, we would have arrived at this.
Probably.
So something expedited the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Something expedited the process.
Whether it was Trev leaving, whether it was
but
Pillin, whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah. Or whether it was just maybe they are as petty as I think they are. And they're like, oh, you thought you wanted this? Well, we're going to give that to you.
Wherever you rank how important naming a president was or wasn't, I do think that it was in conjunction to the project.
To the South Stadium project.
I do. Right? Because
you think some of the powers that be said, like, hey, yes, we want to get these things done, like, in their own time.
The order of operations was screwed up.
Yes.
It was like they were doing subtraction and math before multiplication and division.
Yeah.
Or brackets or parentheses or whatever, right? So
please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? Is that
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the one I learned too. No, I think it was please bless my dear Aunt Sally.
Yeah.
Brackets. But so maybe the departure was like the catalyst to like, oh gosh, this is the first time any of us gave any real thought to him leaving.
It's the first time I did.
So
it was a week ago.
So maybe that expedited the thing. But if some things were said along the way that you didn't like, like let's say it got to be a decent exchange or whatever, and the some powers that be, whether it's, I don't know,
pretty easy to see how this might have gotten
contentious. Whether it's whomever, right? And some things are exchanged and you don't like what was said or how you've been talked to. If in the back of your mind, I'll give you a great example. I had a great boss. He's a good friend today. Great friend today. let me run my mouth way back in 04. I mean, run my mouth, right? Because I felt like this is 03, maybe expendable or not expendable. Like, you need me. Said some things I shouldn't have said in hindsight. He came back a week later and he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to take you up on your offer. If you feel like you're not reaching your full potential, maybe you ought to find something else. Find something else different to do. So in the back of his mind, he knew what his options could be, but he wanted to do a little more exploring.
Sure.
Okay. Could be what happened with the powers that be behind the situation with Trev. Trev could have been complaining and belly aching, and the border regions like heard him, but they didn't want to acquiesce. Maybe formulated a plan behind closed doors, because nobody ever wants to be held hostage. Right. So it's like, okay, if this guy's really going to act like this, what are my options?
Yeah.
So maybe him being at wit's end did push
their
action,
hand.
but I do think you got to give them some credit for having a contingency plan so quickly,
getting it done,
however it came up. Right?
He had an AD and a new president.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things can be true at once. He could have been being petty, and they could have been in the wrong, but behind the scenes, they were making sure that they landed on their feet.
And maybe Nebraska ends up better for it.
Could be.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and live from the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by Chris Fetters, who covers Washington for Dogman 24/7. Chris, how are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good. We work with so many of the 24/7. Like, this has to be the busiest last 19 hours for you since when? Since the hiring of Fish? Like, has it been a whirlwind for you?
Yeah, it's pretty much been nonstop since the national championship game. You know, a couple days after that, DeBoer goes to Alabama. A couple days after that, Washington hires Fish. Then you've got the coaching staff getting filled in, and then now Washington had 13 guys go to the combine for the NFL draft. So there was all that stuff that was going on, and then Troy Dannen actually just fired the Washington's men's basketball coach, Mike Hopkins, right after their final game of the season. And plans were already well underway for Washington to hire their new men's basketball coach. The inside track guy was a guy, Danny Sprinkle from Utah State, who will be, I think, playing a game tomorrow, if I remember correctly. And so everything, it's the last 2 days have been pretty crazy, but I would say, frankly, since the first week in January, since frankly even January 1st with the Sugar Bowl, it's been kind of nonstop ever since for Washington fans.
Chris, I want to get into the hiring of Jedd Fisch and kind of that process. Obviously, that's probably the biggest thing that you experienced with Troy Dannen as AD in his short tenure at Washington there. How did that process go from your point of view? Were people kind of happy with how Dannen handled that?
Yeah, I'll say right off the bat, I only met Troy Dannen once personally, and that was at his initial press conference. I was off site when Jedd Fisch was announced as Washington's head coach, like his official press conference and the like. I was handling off site. We had guys on site doing stuff as well. But I never got a chance to meet Troy other than one kind of, personally, we had about a 10, 15 minute talk on the side about things, and he couldn't have come across as a better guy to lead Washington's athletic department going forward from Jen Cohen, who had a remarkable track record of success before she went to USC. So, everything pointed in the right direction. DeBoer gets hired by Alabama, and that was in and of itself was interesting in hindsight, because there were some things that happened the day the announcement came that DeBoer was going to Alabama that here in Seattle, probably in hindsight, should have been red flags, but couldn't really, think about it at the time as such, because things were, first of all, things were going so fast. But secondly, it's like, that happens when these kinds of decisions are made at the very, very highest level in the top divisions of college athletics. Things get moved around very quickly. There's a lot of money involved. but there's also people involved, and a lot of emotions and families are involved.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've come to find out with Troy Dannen in the last 24 hours, he's come out publicly and said, at least to Seattle media, that moving back closer to home was pretty much the only reason why he left Washington. Well, we've come to learn that probably isn't 100% the case. There's other mitigating factors, but it really did start with that day that DeBoer was hired by Alabama. DeBoer was supposed to go on a local radio station here in town, and they put out a statement saying that DeBoer wasn't going to be able to be on there, but it was because DeBoer was working with Washington to try to hammer out a new deal for the future of him at Washington. Well, that was news to Washington's athletic department, who got a hold of the guys at KJR, which was the station that was going to run it. KJR is the flagship station for Washington athletics here in Seattle. Well, KJR was like, your boss actually prepared the statement and gave it to us. Well, apparently Troy Dannen never told anyone else in the athletic department that was going on. So there was already starting to see some fissures. There was starting to see some disconnect that was going on between members in the athletic department and Troy Dannen. There's 18 athletic directors underneath Troy Dannen at Washington. I don't know what the bureaucracy is like in Nebraska, but that seems pretty insane to me when I really took a deep look at it yesterday. I was thinking between deputy athletic directors, senior associate athletic directors, and associate athletic directors, there's 18 of them. So, they're already started to see some cracks form there. And then now when we hear that Troy Dannen, basically is going to Nebraska for essentially a small upgrade. He's getting a 60% raise, guys. Who wouldn't leave for that, first of all?
Mm-hmm.
And then second of all, he's getting closer to Iowa, which is his home. He started out at Northern Iowa. He's born in Iowa. His family wants to be in Iowa. But when we start to hear stories of his wife never wanted to come to Seattle, never wanted to be here. The family situation apparently was always going to be a stumbling block. Sometimes the cynical reporter part in me wants to go, if that's the case, why did you ever take the job in the first place? But all that said, to go back about the hiring of Fish, in my opinion, he could not have handled the hiring of Jed Fish better. It was roundly received as the most positive outcome of let's be honest, a real crappy situation. You don't lose your head coach 2 days after playing in the national championship game in any normal season. But we also noticed in that same season, 3 of the 4 head coaches from the playoff teams that were in the semifinals aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
So what it tells you in this day and age, guys, you could be poached by anyone at any time for any reason, or anything can happen. You can lose your coach to retirement like Saban. You can lose your coach to the NFL like Jim Harbaugh. Or you can lose your coach to being promoted to a quote-unquote blue blood like Washington was when Kalen DeBoer went to Alabama. But all that said, within 48 hours after that, Washington had their head coach in Jed Fish. He genuinely wants to be there, but I think all Washington fans' eyes are wide open with Jed Fish, knowing that if he has any success, he's going to be gone in a couple of years too. So this is just kind of part and parcel of the environment that's been created by all these dominoes falling. And Troy Dannen didn't have anything to do with Kalen DeBoer taking the Alabama job, other than everyone's assuming he tried as hard as he could to keep DeBoer at Washington. He was expected to get a bump from $3.5–4 million to over $9 million. But yet we've also come to find out that Alabama was going to pay him well over 10. So he's supposedly going for a better gig. He's embraced the idea of being the guy behind Nick Saban, which a lot of coaches might just say, no, I want to be the guy after the guy who does that. And so, he arguably got the best guy that was available on the market. I think Lance Leipold would have been another guy that I think they wanted to try to go really hard after.
Big fan.
But like I said, within 48 hours, they got his guy. You could arguably say Jed Fish was probably the hottest name in that market. Arizona may have been one of the hottest teams in the country by the end of last year. And so they got a guy who wanted to be in Seattle, who's actually coached in Seattle. He was a part of the Seahawks for a while. And he's invested in a pro staff, getting Bill Belichick's son to run the defense. He's got Pete Carroll's son running the offense. So I can see this as a win-win for both Nebraska and Washington, frankly, guys, because Nebraska gets their guy quickly. They get a guy who wants to be there. It wants to get back to the Midwest. But I think Washington also got a guy who made the big decisions the right way, and unfortunately just ended up being a victim of circumstance.
Chris, if you're going to be an AD and the stadium, the locker room and the renovate, you build a great facility. That's not an issue. It's a self-sustaining athletic budget where you obviously don't want to fall asleep at the wheel, but they're in a good monetary space there. Talk to me about how the philosophical things line up as an AD, right? Because some of the big things that ADs do, you won't have to do when you get here. So how does his mindset fit with taking this job? We don't need a new facility. You have your coaches in place. Like what talk to me about his ideology.
Well, I think the ideology, guys, if you just look at it on the surface, the ideology when he got to Washington would have been the exact same of when he's getting to Nebraska.
Gotcha.
Washington still had their head coach. DeBoer was only in his second season at Washington. No one could have assumed that Nick Saban was going to retire, leading to this domino effect that happened. So the one thing is that he always told us in his initial press conference, this is my final job. This is my third stop. This is where I want to be. But now he's kind of walked that back saying, well, you always want to be where your feet are, blah, 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 blah. You'll also notice that any public statements he's made right now as Nebraska's athletic director don't have any talk about him saying this is my last job. Because he already made that mistake.
Yeah.
He already made that mistake. So you've got that. But here's the difference, guys. When he was at Northern Iowa, when he was at Tulane, he was in the rebuild mode. He was in the let's start from scratch and build stuff up mode. When he was at Washington, everything was rolling. The only thing that wasn't rolling was the men's basketball program. And so when he looked at it in terms of the balance sheet of what needed to be done, what didn't need to be done, these were all things that he worked on. But it's no different than it is in Nebraska now. Things were running great. So
That's Chris Fetters.
Fantastic, Chris. Appreciate that.
That's Chris Fetters from Dogman 24/7. Chris, we appreciate your time and your insight, and hope you enjoy. I know Washington's not there, but hope you enjoy the NCAA tournament anyway.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
That's Chris Fetters from Dogman 24/7.
What if he's not a hoops fan?
I mean, everybody likes hoops. Even when they don't like hoops, you still like March Madness. Come on.
Everybody.
Tell them, make me a grill. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's a joke you only get if you're listening to us in the room.